No Simple Road did some market research. We tried some different mushroom chocolate bars, and I think we found the best ones.
We found our secret weapon.
Yeah, definitely our secret weapon. Melt Premium Mushroom Chocolates. They contain 4 grams of their sacred mushroom blend, grown with the intention of reverence. So they honor this ancient medicine by using only the finest organic, fair trade, and sustainably grown ingredients. We know these folks, and they grow all their own mushrooms, and they make the chocolate themselves.
Can you believe that? Making your own chocolate.
Yeah, this is like if Terrence McKenna and Willy Wonka had a baby.
That's right.
Yeah, it would be Melt Premium Mushroom Chocolates.
Hence the name Melt. Melt implores you to melt your worries, your stress,
the bullshit.
All the bullshit away.
All the bars contain lion's mane, which has a list of health benefits. A few are it improves brain function, memory, promotes health, energy levels, combats fatigue, and slows biological aging. And we could all use a little bit of slow biological aging.
Absolutely.
They are 100% organic. They have vegan options. They're gluten-free. And I did the packaging for them. There's 10 flavors. So go over and follow them on Instagram at Melt Mushrooms, at MELTMUSHROOMS. Slide into their DMs, let them know that No Simple Road sent you, and there you are going to get $20 off your first order. So
$20 off your first order, that's a big deal. Try something amazing.
Go throw Melt follow.
That's
and,
right.
Slip into those DMs. They'll send you their menu, and you tell them that we sent you, and you get $20 off your first bar. So go check out Melt Mushrooms. It's the most wonderful time of the year.
That's right. It is the end of the fish run.
It's Dick's week coming next week. And our friends over at Venue Llama have done something super dope. They have created a all you need to know video on their YouTube channel.
It's 8 minutes of perfection. Everything you want to know, need to know, and didn't know you needed to know.
Yeah, and they are doing this for everything. Venue Llama is a new resource. It's where live music fans share helpful insider venue reviews and information based on their own experiences. A place where pro showgoers can quickly review venues and exchange seriously helpful venue intel with one another. Head over to venuellama.com today to sign up for your free Llama account and start reviewing venues today. Review venues in the Llama base, upload photos in the Llama gallery, and add your favorite scene-friendly businesses, websites, or podcasts to your friends page. Check out Venue Llama's YouTube channel as well, and the Venue Llama podcast, which I was lucky enough to be a guest.
That's right.
But seriously, I know a lot of you have been to Dick's before, and you're like, what could I possibly need to know about going to Dick's? Go watch this video on YouTube on the Venue Llama page. I promise you there is going to be stuff in there you did not know before.
Like which one of the entrances is slower versus faster.
Which bags are allowed into the venue.
That's right. And where to pull out and into to get the most efficient use of your time.
What is the pro tip, Llama tip for food in the lot?
That's right.
Yep. So go check it out. And remember, when you sign up on Venue Llama, it's you rating the venues that you've been to tell everybody in the scene what's going on there, like things like security and which entrances and where to park and what food is good. And this is all stuff that we know that we can help the scene out with, and Venue Llama has created the space for us to do it. So go to Venue Llama, VENUELLAMA.com. We talk to you every week about Fire on the Mountain, and we talk about the amazing chicken wings and salads and pizzas and burgers they have going on at their 3 locations here in Portland and their 2 locations in Denver.
And one soon coming to Bend.
But we do not talk enough about the bomb-ass merch that Fire on the Mountain has.
They have my favorite socks that I've ever worn. I got compliments on my socks.
I was with you. It was really funny, actually, the other night. We were at Flaming Lips, and your friend was like...
No, it was Haley Johnson.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. It was Christian Lopez's wife.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
there it is.
You'll hear that on an upcoming episode. Anyway, those dope socks that Mel got complimented on.
The hats.
Their hoodies, their t-shirts.
Stickers.
If you are a Grateful Dead fan or a Fish fan, all this merch is going to fit right in with your ethos, I promise you. So go over to portlandwings.com. You can order your merch there. If you're not in one of the cities where you're lucky enough to have one of their restaurants, You can get their sauces there online. You can follow them on Instagram at FOTMPDX, FOTM Denver, and FOTM Ben. And yeah, man, this is the Grateful Dead family making the best damn food ever and creating an atmosphere where you can go hang out with your friends. You can also bring your family.
And they have an awesome happy menu or happy hour menu.
It's also a happy menu.
It is a happy menu, and it's a happy hour menu from 2 to 5, and you will enjoy everything after work. Nice cold beer, maybe some pizza at one of the locations, maybe some wings, whatever you want.
That's right. So go check out Fire on the Mountain. At the end of the summer, sometimes I feel like my wardrobe needs to be upgraded, you know?
Yeah, you know, every now and then you got to do a little upgrade.
And it does get old buying shirts in the lot after a while. But here's the thing, Shop Tour Bus has you covered. The online lot's coolest Grateful Dead inspired t-shirts. These are Grateful Dead songs told in the form of picture with, you know, it's a IYK kind of thing. If you know, you know, you know.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you.
So go check out shoptourbus.com. You're going to see all these amazing designs. And when you're checking out at Shop Tour Bus,
enter the promo code No Simple Road, all one word,
and you are going to get free shipping.
Free shipping. And let me tell you, when you get that box in your mailbox or at your doorstep, it's like the happiest moment. It's got the Shop Tour Bus stamp. And once you get that in your hands and open it up, you're going to see the plethora of fun little trinkets, candies, and possibly a miracle bootleg.
It is a box of excitement that
really
comes to you,
is.
and a box of intention, love, and happiness, and it is our Grateful Dead family. So get free shipping by putting in the promo code No Simple Road. Follow them on Instagram at Shop Tour Bus and go to shoptourbus.com and put in your order. One of our favorite sponsors is back with us, Sunset Lake CBD.
Yeah.
If you're looking for CBD that actually does what CBD is supposed to do, look no further than our friends over at Sunset Lake.
Let me break it down.
Break it down, Mel.
They're sustainably farmed, meaning they avoid pesticides and use sustainable farming practices to preserve the land for future generations. 1. 2, farm to table. They ship the CBD products straight from their door in Vermont directly to your door wherever you're at.
Now that's cool.
And third party tested. They test everything with a third party to ensure quality, dosage, and safety.
You got to go over and check out sunsetlakecbd.com. They have so many products. Break it down for them, Apple.
Well, they've got some new stuff going on. Like they always had pre-rolls, but now they got really cool packaging for it. And you can get CBD pre-roll flights of all their flavors. You can get the heavy hitter flight that also throws in some of their Keef blunts. They have a new CBD recovery body lotion.
I'm excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the other?
The other one with arnica.
The extra strength muscle rub, 3,000 milligram with 5% lidocaine.
So look,
Oh, yeah,
if you're
lidocaine.
sore, this is the stuff you want to rub on your body to make those aches and pains go away. They even have CBD infused coffee, so you can have coffee without the little jitter that you get from caffeine, and you have it in the morning and you start your day off right. Your body feels lubricated. You're going to sleep good.
Yeah, and also they have, if you kind of forget to reorder, they've got subscriptions.
And they're giving the No Simple Road family 20% off.
20% off.
Put
with
in the promo code NSR20 when you're checking out at sunsetlakecbd.com. You're going to get 20% off your entire order.
NSR20.
And don't forget those cute little gummy bears.
That's right. sunsetlakecbd.com, one of our favorite sponsors, is back.
No Simple Road. Yeah, here we go.
Sans apple.
We do not have apple today.
Minus Mansana.
Yeah, it's Mel and
Aaron. And we are back for another episode of No Simple Road. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this wonderful August Friday. the week before Fish Dicks.
Yes, this is exciting. Our guest today is Joe Moore of Psychedelics Today podcast, and much more, actually.
A psychedelic educator,
yes,
and illuminator, and podcastinator.
Right now, he's at Burning Man.
I think he's on his way there,
probably. Or on his way. So Burning Man is in his future or in his present as we speak.
Have a good burn, Joe.
We talked about that and how impactful his last year's Burning Man was. We talk about tons of things psychedelic, and it was really great because he was on our show episode 56.
Holy shit. Really?
Yes. Oh no, I'm sorry. Episode 52.
Whoa.
Even deeper than that.
Back in the OG No Simple Road on the porch, smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee day.
It really, we've said this many times and I think that we'll still say it, but anytime we have a guest that requests to come back on the show because they have something new going on in their life, it is exciting to us because I really feel like we not only are interviewing and conversing, but we become friends. We become champions of them. We become supporters of them. And in this case, it's no different.
Well,
I just won't say we, but I really support what Joe Moore is doing and how he's grown his business. And he's doing something for the future of psychedelics as a whole.
The work that they're doing at Psychedelics Today is not only just creating a podcast, they are educating and training the next generation of psychedelic.
The first generation.
Yeah, well, okay. This generation of psychedelic healers that are out there and practitioners.
Facilitators, coaches, practitioners, all of that
It's
stuff.
a whole thing that's going on. And so, in my opinion, my humble opinion, they are changing the world.
I agree.
On a very fundamental kind of level.
Well, we talked about, you mentioned your idea of the mystique of it was really something of psychedelics and even cannabis for that matter. That was really important to you back in the day when you were first experimenting.
Yeah, but I like being an outlaw.
Yes. And the other people don't like being an outlaw.
I know.
And so for those people who are either graduating from liking to be outlaws or people that are not outlaws by nature, this is one of the best things to do to be able to educate yourself.
His response to me saying that was one of the best responses I've ever heard from anybody. It made me like, you know what, you're right.
Think better.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, I understand now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joe. So you all are going to really, really enjoy this, but we are going to hip you up to some goings-on things and whatnots before we do that.
And just like right now, Apple, unfortunately, was not on this episode, so that's why we're doing the intro without Apple, because we figure...
It's called continuity.
Yes. So Apple's still here. He's still part of No Simple Road. We love Apple.
We didn't kill him and bury him in the yard.
No, not yet.
He's not at Whitebird.
We are... he's working, and so are we.
Yeah. So here's the deal, everybody. This week coming up is a really important, huge week for No Simple Road.
Yeah.
We are appearing live at Ophelia's Electric Soapbox in Denver, Colorado on Wednesday, August the 30th at 7:30 p.m. Our special guest will be Chris Pandolfi of the infamous String Dusters.
Wow.
And we will also be appearing live with Andy Frasco's World Saving Podcast, who has comedian Todd Glass.
And a super special unannounced guest.
Yeah. And this is going to be a podcast extravaganza.
Free for all.
Andy explained it as a podcast circle jerk. So if you want to come hang out with No Simple Road, I suggest you grab your tickets. They're only selling, I think they said 150 tickets. So, those are going to go fast if they aren't already sold out. And you can get your tickets at nosimpleroad.com. You can also get them at ophelias.com. And
I feel like this is one of those nights that if you're there, it's going to be special. It's going to be a very memorable night because I know Andy's got all kinds of shenanigans and awesome stuff going on, but we get to kick it off. No Simple Road gets to kick it off with Chris Pandolfi.
And I just want to announce to everybody that is not going to be able to make it or be in Denver, We are doing a free live stream of the entire show, our set and Andy Frasco on volume.com. Our friends over at volume.com are hooking us up and streaming the show for free. There will even be a chat room for you to interact with us in the chat. And we will be,
for everybody who can't be there, watch
there.
and type in your questions or your comments, and we will listen and read from the stage, and hopefully you can participate with us. I think like you are there.
I'm going to pick maybe 2 or 3 questions at random out of the chat for Pandolfi and probably do that while we're up there as well. And yeah, man, if you're in the Denver area, I urge you to come hang out with us. If you're part of the No Simple Road family and you're not at this thing, that makes me sad. Just makes me feel sad inside.
Well, I mean, I'm sad too, but I just feel like if you can't physically show up, do the next best thing. Go to volume.com, check out our live stream, write your questions in. Yeah, hang out with us.
And even, not even more, but in addition to the excitement of appearing at Ophelia's, we get to take Frasco to his first Fish show. Do you know that man's afro is going to fall off?
And he said Todd Glass is going to be his first show too. So it's Todd Glass, Andy Frasco, Nick Erlock, a previous guest of ours, and Andy Frasco's co-host on Andy Frasco's World Saving Podcast. And a slew of other No Simple Road family in addition.
That's a hell of a crew.
Yeah.
To and Fish show with.
We're super excited too, because Dano is going to be with us, and he's going to be the photographer / videographer recording us so that we can put it on our channel later on. But this is also going to be his first show. And there is nothing like being with somebody at their first Fish show, especially for the Dix Run.
Yeah, man.
When the Dix Run is your first show, that's going to be memorable.
So that is what is going on. And also, No Simple Road will be at Cascade Equinox Festival next month.
That's right.
And tickets are still available for that. We are going to be doing a live podcast on Saturday at 5 o'clock, I think, at Cascade Equinox. So come hang out with us. We're going to have a special musical guest or 2 sitting with us there. And
listen and stand by for a future episode. I believe it's going to be next week with Haley Johnson.
2 weeks.
2 weeks? Yeah. All right. So we're going to be releasing that. And she is the bassist for the Big Wild.
Just Big Wild.
Oh, well, Big Wild.
Yep.
The band Big Wild. And she is also a solo artist. So seek her music out in prep for our interview. She's amazing.
And then go to NoSimpleRoad.com, sign up for our newsletter, get yourself some merch, follow us on Instagram at NoSimpleRoad, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, go to patreon.com/NoSimpleRoad, become a patron. If you are not a patron, you are missing, a third of the content of No Simple Road. You're missing an entire other podcast. You're missing all the stuff that gets posted up there, and the fan interaction and the
this
community
is where we get
interaction.
deep with the family. And Corey's doing an excellent job of reaching out to the No Simple Road family, getting them on, and then
he's going to interview my mom.
Really? And then alternatively, he's doing things like that, interviewing, his mom and Aaron. I just listened to Aaron's episode today, and I'm recording with him on Monday. So
yeah, man. So patreon.com/NoSimpleRoad. Get yourself involved with the No Simple Road family and the community, and get to know each other, so that when you go out to a show, if you have other NSR family in your area, you guys can hang out together and do meetups and all the fun stuff. It's really
one of the sweetest things that we get is like photos or tepid line calls with people like Eli has done in the past, interviewing Joe and Jordan on different festivals and stuff. So
speaking of the tepid line,
here we go.
We do have some David calls in the can here, and let me get them queued up. Hang on a second. Here we go.
Melanie, this is David from California, and I call bullshit on you calling bullshit. Talking about mental health, be it good, bad, or ugly, is something that I think the listeners and even yourself have said is something special for the podcast. So please don't feel bad that you guys have spent so long talking about your feeling blah. Because again, as per my earlier call, and per Aaron and Apple, everybody goes through this shit.
Yes.
So
yeah, we do.
It's validation to hear you talk about your bleh day. So please don't feel bad.
David.
I personally love you for it.
Aww.
Aaron and Apple love you for it. The No Simple Road family loves you. And please, talk about it. Talk about it, because it not only helps you, it helps those of us out here who may either have experienced, will experience, or are experiencing that same thing today. So much love, guys. Much love to the family out there in general. Again, I hope everybody's having a fucking amazing day today.
All right.
And yeah, I just want to say this before you play the next one, David, that I got on like shortly after, maybe it was like a day or two after that release, one of our other No Simple Road family sent me a text specifically saying what you said in their own words, and how him and his wife feel the same way, and it's something that they also talk about and don't feel bad, and sent me this beautiful video reminder. And you're right, it's just like, I think when you're feeling blah, I don't want to put that on anybody else, even if I think it might be helpful. I just don't want to, I feel like I'm like shitting on the floor, and like now everybody's got to step over it or smell it. And
no, we clean it up.
Well, I understand that. But when you're feeling like that way, you're not necessarily feeling positive about that shit smell. You know what I mean? And you don't really want to share it. So that's really what it was at. And you're right. We've talked about mental health here, and we'll talk about it again. And I'm sure it won't be the first or the last time that I feel blah, but just that particular time, I was feeling really, I don't want to say self-conscious about it, but just not right about it.
Well,
and I just want to thank you for calling in and throwing that out there again. I appreciate it, truly.
Thank you, David, for the reminder. We appreciate it. We have one more. I think I'm going to try this one. Let's see what happens.
Hey, NSR family. This is Dave from California. I've got a couple things. First is, last week I called and accidentally called the tepid line the John C line, or called John B, John C by accident. So sorry, John. Love your brother, and sorry I fucked up your
initial.
Oh, what happened?
Secondly, I want to touch base with Mel this morning, Monday's episode. I know exactly, literally exactly how Mel was feeling, because I went through that recently. There was nothing that affected my day that put me in that unness feeling, but definitely was just feeling unmotivated, unfocused, unhappy, just everything.
Aww.
And I met a dude that day who, having the conversation we had, feeling the love and energy and kindness he put out, changed my whole day. We always talk about connections and the way people make us feel, and that day I made a strong connection, and he really helped me come out of that. I like when Apple described it as unness, because that's exactly what it was, and made such a strong connection, and have been in contact with this person now since then as well.
Cool.
But I get it. We all get those days. We all have them. As I've said before, if you're having that unness, smile. Shit will get better. I love you, fam. I love you, Mel. I'm glad that you are having a better day, hopefully today, and that unness has cleared, and you've lifted the fog and are a smiley, happy Mel that we all know and love. And Apple and Aaron, I don't want to leave you guys out either. I love you guys.
Love you too, brother.
I'm glad you guys are there for Mel when she is in her unness, and that you guys are there for each other when you're in the unness, and that the No Simple Road family is there for each other when we are all in our unness as
That
well.
is true.
So stay positive. If you can't stay positive, shit will change and your positivity will return. Much love to the No Simple Road family today. I love everyone out there. I hope everybody's having a super fabulous fucking day. Mine's just starting and listening to NSR on the road.
Oh man, that was cool, Dave. Thank you, brother. You know what?
You know, I want to say this too. I didn't realize it, but the week, like the following days after me talking about not feeling good and all that, we got sick. We got really sick.
We were all getting sick. That's what it was.
And I now that there's hindsight, I've realized that. I feel it, and I think maybe that was also something to do with it, because like I said when I was talking about it, there was really nothing that prompted it. It wasn't something that was something that occurred. But now in hindsight, I realized that I was under the weather and I was getting sick, and so maybe that was something that something that happened.
It happens.
It does.
All right.
It does.
Hey,
and I do feel better.
Hey, look who's here.
Uh-oh.
Hi, Apple.
What?
What's up? Oh, wait. Hang on. It helps if I turn on your mic. What's up, Apple?
What's up?
How you doing, man?
Good. You're a little pissed off.
What?
My AC just went out on the way home.
On your car.
I'm driving, all of a sudden it just starts going.
Maybe it's just something dumb.
It's something like the blower or something, the noise it was making.
Do you want me to go like stand
Yell
next
at
to
it
and go, hey, stop doing that?
No, I already did that. I know you got to find an AC place in the morning.
Okay. Anyway, welcome.
Thank you.
We're just finishing up.
What are you doing?
We're doing the intro to Joe Moore. You weren't on this episode, so we just went. We just rolled through it. We're just for continuity's sake.
I thought
continuity's been ruined.
I thought there's somebody. I thought you were interviewing somebody.
Yep. Oh, hey, person on the other side of the phone. What's up? Oh, good. How are you? So how long have you been playing in the music thing?
5 years.
Cool.
About 14 inches.
All right, we're gonna get you to the interview now. Everybody, make sure that you go check out Psychedelics Today podcast. Go to their website. There is a list of classes that they offer and all kinds of stuff. You know, it's a whole universe that you can get involved in and learn and do stuff with. So,
and it's psychedelicstoday.com.
And we are very stoked to have Joe.
I'm just going to drop one bit of knowledge too. Joe Moore is the only person that could wear entirely all white outfit.
We actually talk about
at
that.
Red Rocks Amphitheater and not get dirty.
Do you know that Joe and I wore all white the same day? That day,
and you stayed clean too.
We both.
Me and Aaron would have been full little pigs.
Yeah, I had my Dickies on. I had a white tank top, and I just couldn't believe. I was like, "Oh shit, you're in all white!" Like, yeah, it was a pretty cool moment.
All right, so here we go. We're gonna get you to the conversation with Joe, the man in white from Psychedelics Today. Without further ado, the No Simple Road crew gives you
Joe Moore.
Guys, I really like this setup you got. This is so
Thanks.
cool.
Come visit.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Oh, man, I wish I got to visit when I was in Portland last time, but it was such tight timelines.
Yeah,
I know.
Next time, man.
We have a lot of that too when we travel. It's like for the event and then not really any time behind or in front of the event. So yeah.
Fish tour and shit's like impossible.
You're obviously gonna be there for the Dick's Run, yeah?
No.
I started going to this new party in the desert. It's really quite the situation out there at Burning Man. Yeah, like I've been wanting to try Burning Man for a while, like 20, 30 years, but I finally got there. And I'm hooked for a while. I haven't seen Fish in like 2 years.
Oh,
really? So since we've seen you last, was that the last time?
Kinda.
Yeah, at Dick's.
I think I saw Dick's that year. I think I saw Dick's that year in maybe Maryland.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not out for good. I just had to like really put my head down.
For work.
Oh,
you know what though? I feel like going to Burning Man and having that experience is akin to what just happened with us with the Oregon Country Fair.
Ooh.
Was that your first fair?
Yeah.
Yes.
All I hear is about how amazing it is. Did you get to stay at night?
Yeah. Yeah. We actually podcasted from there.
Good.
And
Good.
It was, Joe, I mean, I don't have to tell you, it was probably the single most amazing experience as far as like psychedelic world and real life coming together in one place at one time. It was insane. And I think that those kind of things, especially after hearing about it for years and years and then going and experiencing what it was, you have to go back after that. You know, like, is that how your first Burning Man experience was?
Oh, yeah. I'm like, this is what I've been looking for. This is exactly the kind of people I want to be around.
Ooh.
Yeah. Like, you know,
how did that happen? How did you said you've always wanted to do it. How did it present itself to where
we are rolling?
We're rolling.
All right, great. Cool. So like
only a couple minutes.
I was like, how did it go? Well, I had tickets years ago, like 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago. And I got really injured, like a hip injury after some stuff I just couldn't walk through. If I couldn't make it work in Waikiki Beach, like I didn't think Burning Man was going to work.
Okay, got it.
I got to offload these tickets. This isn't going to fly. So I got it sorted out a few years later. We scored tickets again. We had some friends, some new amazing friends that came into our life. So it's like a perfect group. And they said we could camp with them. We asked and they said yes. There's a little bit of vetting. But then they're like, I think these guys really have it together. So, you know, I grew up in New Hampshire. You know, I live at 10,000 feet of altitude in Colorado. I like really hard conditions.
Right.
Like, I pay a lot of money to be in really hard conditions, snowboarding all the time, skiing. So I'm like, you know, getting shit thrown in my face all the time. You know, pay to do that.
Yeah.
And,
right.
Yeah. So, you know, it wasn't that bad. And I was going to Arizona regularly to see family. So, you know, it wasn't 118 degrees out there. It was pretty hot, but it was, you know, manageable temps. And yeah, man, it just worked out. Like we showed up early, like multiple days early, built a bunch of stuff, got to like tour and talk to all the artists before the installations were complete. It's awesome. And help. And it was just awesome, man. Like it was exactly what I wanted. Yeah. And I think like Country Fair, I think the vibes are super similar, though obviously a little more humid, maybe a little less dusty, maybe a little more muddy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think Country Fair, you know, it's like this thing right in the middle of the forest where it's like half the party is like showing this really incredible feats of people and their artistry and what they can accomplish. And once that fair closes, it turns into this psychedelic, like
Wonderland.
Yeah, I guess a psychedelic wonderland, but it's highly organized in the sense that people have done this for 52 years. And so the organization is kind of on its own, not necessarily that people are organized, but what happens there is like, this happens here. And it's so beautiful to behold a chaotic, like way of living for 3 days. Like the fact that people spend the entire year to do something for 3 days, first of all, is incredible already by itself. I'm spending all my money and all my effort and all my time for 3 days. So that in itself is saying something. And then when you get there and you're the first, it's your first experience and you're amongst people that are 30, 40, 50 years in deep. And you're sitting at the same table with them. It was a huge honor, but also like, holy shit. What, how did one A to B, how did this even happen? And like, whoa, like it was just like a lot of like opening up, like awe moments. That's really what it was to me, was a lot of awe moments and seeing like the fact that 20,000 100,000 people cannot get paid to do something and do the most beautiful job you've ever done. No one's complaining like, oh man, I got to pick up trash, or oh man, these bathrooms. No, everybody is full participation.
I get to scoop shit.
Happy to do what they're doing, and then like just fucking ripping loose and being their carefree psychedelic selves in such a beautiful space. Like, I mean, it is gorgeous.
You know what though? What he said about the vetting. That's a real thing, man. Like,
we didn't realize we were being vetted. We had no idea we were being vetted through the show, through our personal actions, through our Instagram. We're being vetted by this, the people that decided to invite us. And when we get there, we're still being vetted. How are you showing up? What are you doing, bringing to the camp? How are you interacting with everybody? What are the conversations and the content that are taking place? What's your input to this? Why are you here? What are you bringing to this table? And all those questions weren't asked of us. They were literally out there to be. Yeah.
Did you experience some of that at your burn?
I think so. Yeah, for sure. I'm usually not one to just like sit down when I see other people working if there's a way for me to throw in.
Right.
And especially in a scenario like that. Right.
Sure.
So, definitely. And there's definitely, they call them sparkle ponies at the burn, like the ones that don't like to do things, just like to like show up and look hot, so that's cool. but it's one way to contribute, I suppose.
Right.
But, it's better if you're washing dishes, lifting heavy shit, cleaning up trash, all that. But your vetting line there, it's interesting, right? Like, think about how much you would have to vet somebody before you want to go on a 7-night like fish run with them or something like that.
Oh my God, yeah.
That would be a really hard step for anybody to like interrupt my process in the way I want to have that experience, right? And it's probably similar at the burn, except there's so much cultural pressure to like conform to the principles. The principles are actually really cool to me. Y'all are familiar with those 10 principles a little bit.
Well, let's hear them because we may be, but like this is an educational show.
Right.
So let's hear them. Do you know them off the hand?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say yes, but I'm actually reading them off the website.
Yeah. No,
you know how to get the information, Joe, and that's what matters.
The radical inclusion. So like anybody can be a part. And you want to, welcome and respect the stranger. And like, you don't have to have your, Rolex or like some sort of virtue signal on in order to be included. Right. Then there's gifting. So people gift a lot. The whole thing is not barter. It's straight up gift economy, which is, I think, sick. Really, really fucking cool. Cause you show up anywhere, they can give you this amazing bourbon, cocktail, margarita, drugs, whatever it is. Got to be careful about cops though, of course. Yeah. Actually, even with alcohol, they have undercovers. Like, so you have to definitely card people sometimes.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Decommodification. Yeah, dude. Actually, so like the cop thing is real out there. Like, it's on federal land, even though cannabis is legal in Nevada, as you two probably know quite well. It's it's certainly federal land, so it's not. So there's feds all over the place.
Wow.
Sometimes like night vision goggles, IR goggles,
what
looking
the
around.
Fuck?
Yeah, dude, it's real. And they can like snatch you off in our car. And like, the trick is to tell them you don't have a camp so you don't get your friends in trouble too. Like, I actually don't know where I live, or I just showed up and I don't have a tent. Tell them shit like that.
I sleep
so
on
you don't
the
get
Playa.
your friends in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually haven't been sleeping the last 10 days. So
this is day 8 of my awakeness.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
So
that.
People got to be careful out there, man. It's wild. Yeah. It's kind of a war. In a weird way.
Right.
Next is decommodification, right? So like, how do you, I'll read it. In order to preserve the spirit of gifting, our community seeks to create social environments that are unmediated by commercial sponsorships, transactions, or advertising. So like logos or no-go usually.
Okay.
We stand ready to protect our culture from such exploitation. We resist the substitution of consumption for participatory experience, which I think is super important.
That's amazing. Yeah. Don't
so
just
people
buy
like
the
cover
t-shirt.
up the Ford logo and shit on their car before going in, or U-Haul logo gets taped over. Like, yeah. And how do you just make it not a fucking transaction? How do we just be human with each other?
Yeah.
Well, also when you're in an elevated mindset and you're susceptible to suggestion and imprint as well, not having those symbols, iconography, and sigils all around you creates a different space to be able to play in. You know what I mean? Like you're not being bombarded with the world's bullshit, so to speak, I guess.
Yeah. Not at least not in the same way. Right. In a radically different way. Yeah. And I didn't even think about the symbolic power of logo, sigils, and whatnot. Like that's a no-brainer, right?
Right.
And how do we like cast that out so we can just be more us?
And
how do we let our
and bring our own shit in? Like
my
my vibe here. And you know, I wondered for a really long time before Mel and I did a couple regional burns.
Oh, sick.
In Nevada. And I wondered beforehand why I had never seen like Burning Man stickers and Burning Man t-shirts and stuff like that. And there it is.
Yeah, right. They don't sell it. Like you can make your own merch. I think if you're an employee, you get some merch maybe, but it's like you're giving it probably versus like, buying it. Yeah. Oh. And then this one is my favorite, radical self-reliance. Imagine if everybody had their shit together.
What?
Yeah. Right.
Like no, it's hard to imagine.
Where you know.
Dude, can I borrow your sleeping bag? Yeah. No, I know. And imagine a world like if we all did that all the time, it would be there would be less bumping up against each other.
Well, and I would imagine, Joe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't these principles like on and kind of off the playa? You want to take these as much
That's kind of the move,
right?
Yeah.
It's much as possible. So creating a radical self-reliance in your own everyday, how and when it's possible is probably the goal, even leading up to going to the playa.
Yeah. And we're not talking like all the way prepper.
Yeah, I get
like, kind of stuff, right? But like, you know, do you have water? Do you have some food? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shelter.
Yeah. Like let's work on the basics and then we can move up. Right.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's the most logical thing. Like, yeah, food, water, shelter. And then what do you need from there? Yeah. And you know, if you're going to be borrowing, contribute.
Totally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have something to energetically exchange.
Have something to be borrowed as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this next one's fun too. Radical self-expression. So quite a good one. Like, how do we show up as authentically as we want to, and in whatever way we feel is appropriate for the scene, right? I was thinking about it today. Like, there's so many people that take their outfits and everything, like the whole burn so seriously.
Right.
I'm up like washing the dishes, giggling, you know, like going over in my head, like, why so serious? Like Joker lines. I'm like, I'm just there, like, you know, I'm gonna have a mime outfit. I had a mime outfit on at some festival in January, and I was laughing so fucking hard just being a really horrible mime with a broken arm. Who like thinks that's radical self-expression? It was Mardi Gras themed, so I'm like, oh, Mardi Gras, French, mime. That was my association within like 3 seconds. I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm going to be a mime for the first time. So I'm going to bring that out. That's going to be funny as hell.
Hell yeah.
But it's, you know, how do you want to express? There's so many ways, right? You could buy the super fancy festival gear and maybe that's how you feel like you're expressing. But maybe there's cheaper ways, right? Like shitty face paint or whatever. Like there's so many ways you can do it.
Glitter.
Or not necessarily even cheap, just creative. Well, out of, you know.
Totally.
The active word in the last two is radical.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not just self-expression on there on the list. It's radical self-expression. So we want to take ourselves to the next level and be
authentic, which that's kind of I wouldn't say those are opposites, but those are definitely radical and authentic. You know, sometimes being authentic is not radical, but it absolutely can be. And so like playing with that can really, I guess, kind of pull you out or into something that you haven't experienced yet. And that's why it can be important.
Yeah.
I radically stayed away from the orgy dome.
Yeah,
which is good.
Yeah,
I'm not going to the orgy dome either.
I want to take a peek, but I definitely don't want to go anywhere inside of it.
So
Yeah.
at Fair, they have a thing. It's called the Ritz.
Oh, yeah.
And the Ritz is fucking dope as shit.
Yeah,
man.
it's actually the most beautifully handcrafted, amazing piece of
engineering.
yeah.
It's a like huge redwood deck with showers, and then there's like these beautifully crafted drying fire circles and a real sauna. So you can pay $12 and go take a nice solar hot shower and go to the sauna every day, like
with hundreds of your closest friends.
But yeah, Mel and I are like we're not prude by any stretch.
I think that we're prude in comparison to the standard. And that was only my afterthought.
Oh, I get
you know
it.
what I mean? You know, the standard, like, look, we're from Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
We've been around sex our entire lives in so many different levels, being from just like sexy outfits all the way to prostitution and everything in between, because that is the culture there. And I think that because Aaron and I grew up in broken families, our tendency was to try to create a wholesome family as much as we could with the psychedelic
bent
on that. And so we did do lots of quote unquote traditional things of how we lived. Like, we're monogamous. We don't really explore too much sexually outside of our marriage. And we are, like I said, I guess in by today's standards, a little bit more prudish, but being put inside of a situation where
you got to shower with 400.
The showering wasn't sexual. It was about utilitarian, and it was about literally feeling good. Yeah, it was about like cleaning the day off or the festival off and getting ready for this evening that you're going to have this great time. So at first, I think we saw through those prudish eyes, like, oh my God, they're going to see my nipples or they're going to see my butt, whatever, right? Then next thing you know, 5 minutes into the shower, we're like, we're being weird about it. No one else is being weird about it. We're caught up about it.
Don't make it weird.
And so like, it was a super really rad transformational opportunity to be, and I have to say all of this with the caveat, like for years and years, I'm an esthetician, seeing people naked all the time. No big deal. I don't care about that. It's not weird or funny.
Yeah, but it's different when it's you.
It's different when I'm the one that's clothed and seeing this and accepting it, and it's fine, and touching it, and it's okay. But then when I'm in a situation where I'm the one that's, in a compromised or open situation, now it's like, whoa, the tables have turned, and that experience really changed something for me. That on that trip, it really made me aware of my biases.
Well, it's part of the experience of going to something like this, and I'm sure Joe will agree that your preconceptions and regular structures get broken by what is now a new norm.
That's exactly.
I want to know what I want to know what just popped in your head.
There's a reasonable amount of naked people, and I was like desensitized within like 2 hours.
Same.
Yeah.
Just whatever. Like,
it took us 5 minutes. It took 2 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, more of a prude. I'm from New England.
Right.
Yeah. It was cool. Like, at some point I'm seeing people have do a public sex act. I'm like, that's fascinating. I kind of like giggled for a minute. I'm like, oh, cool, good for them. Like, fuck yeah,
rock on,
go for it. And yeah, good for you guys.
Yeah,
it's fascinating. But the slide really shifts. You're like, oh, if this is what's possible with the dynamics, the interpersonal dynamics of all of these 80,000 people, some of whom are total strangers, like, the world could be radically different. And that's kind of like where it shifted for me. And that's kind of leads into the next one here. Okay. Communal effort.
Ooh.
our community values cooperation and collaboration. We strive to produce, promote, and protect social networks, public spaces, works of art, and methods of communications that support such interaction. I think like just being able to get people together and like support communication and all this other stuff is so fucking cool. And everybody's working together to keep this outrageously chaotic ship upright somehow, you know?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Not without strife, not without arguing.
I think that, you know, when people talk about big ideas, we have to always understand that there's going to be tension and, you know,
part of the fun.
Yeah. But I think people, you know, they'll think about like, it's everything's like perfect. Like, oh, everyone's getting along. Like, no, you figure out how to get along. You don't just automatically get along. Sometimes you have to concede your personality and other times you have to like persist. And I think that in regular world, regular world, it's a lot. It's never easy. Put it that way. It's never easy. And when you take yourself out of regular world and put yourself in an idealistic world, you have to participate in making that come to fruition.
Come true. Yeah. Yeah.
It's your responsibility. It's not your neighbor's. Like, fuck your neighbor, not necessarily like in a negative way, but
well, that
forget what they're doing. Like, it's what am I doing? How am I participating? Am I being the prude here? Am I being the person that's going to help level everybody up by changing my perception?
And Joe, what it seems like too is like it's in default world, we have a framework that's placed over society that has its cultural norms and accepted ways of being. And going to something like Fair or Burning Man removes a lot of that framework and replaces it with something a little more chaotic and free with intention behind it. And that's where I think space for transformation is created by doing that. I'm part of it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm in the middle of the Unfortunate Psychic Self-Defense, reading it for the 8th time. And just finished the section where she's talking about doing just about anything with intent creates it in kind of like a very powerful ritual ceremony, and really amplifies the shit out of the power of the thing you're doing. And yeah, I think people, you know, when you go into a space like that and say, oh yeah, I'm just going to go get fucked up and see all sorts of like hot people, like cool, like great party, good choice for you. But other people are like, I really just want to push the boundaries and explore new things and see what's out there, see what's possible.
And it's a relatively safe place to do that in. I say relatively because anything is possible, but there's framework in place to help you along your way if you so desire. Totally.
Yeah. This is a good container for that. It's like designed for that. Right. Exactly. You know, this is, I've only been once, right? But I've been studying it forever. I've thought that the principles were we're not even done them yet.
Yeah.
We're like the, you know, a huge part of what the future of humanity could be and maybe should be. And, you know, I think people should be, you know, groomed to be amazing adults.
Wow.
That's
a hell of a quote right there.
I like children, using that, flipping that grooming word on its ass. Yeah, man. Why can't we be groomed to be fucking radically incredible adults? That's right.
Yeah. I might go in drag next time I'm in Florida, by the way. But
right on, man.
I think it would be good for me to get arrested like that. Yeah. All right. So next up, civic responsibility. We value civil society. Community members who organize events should assume responsibility for public welfare and endeavor to communicate civic responsibilities to participants. They must also assume responsibility for conducting events in accordance with local, state, and federal laws. I don't love that part, but I guess like we want to minimize like imperial entanglements, right? So we want to like just try to not get busted and beat up by cops whenever possible.
Yes.
Right.
And yeah, not like I agree with most of the rules or whatever, but a couple of them.
Yeah, well, would an easier way to say that be if you're going to do some shit, be responsible for the shit you're doing
and do it responsibly?
Right. So like in the psychedelic world, churches are getting set up like crazy. I'm in support of psychedelic churches, but that said, I think it's the responsibility of leadership in the church, like in the civic responsibility sense, to say, hey, like there's still a chance we could all get arrested and go to prison for a while here.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that we allegedly have constitutional protection for this stuff, which doesn't seem to hold up very often. But some leaders are taking legal advice and trying to make business moves out of their religions and put people at extreme risk. I know some people that were put at extraordinary risk and could have gone away for decades on account of what religious leaders kind of didn't share.
Wow.
Maybe going so far as saying like, hey, if you're going to be part of my religion, you should go probably get your own attorney and have them like give you your own personal, read on what the situation could be for you here.
Be real.
Damaging
about all
people
of the
through omission.
Yes.
That's fucked up.
Yes.
Yeah. And I want to dig deeper into that. Like it's a really complex thing, the psychedelic religion thing, but it goes well here. There's also, I was joking a lot, like you can die here. It says it on the ticket. It does say you can die on the ticket.
Yeah, right.
I was being a little flippant about it. I thought it was hilarious. And but also like I loved seeing people take risks, but I'm also like we have to balance to a degree, like the level of risk we allow somebody to take on what we've developed.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying.
Right?
Totally.
So like if we build some gigantic tower that somebody could get super hurt on, how do we balance that? I'm not saying you shouldn't build a tower.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you definitely need 24/7 security, but
how do we
mitigate, at least consider this stuff
or mitigate the dangers, or at least really share the dangers, as I don't know,
freely.
As well, not freely. I'm sure, like emphatically as you can, so that people can really be like, well, I do want to go on that tower, but I'm really accident prone, so I'm not gonna. Like make your own decisions, give each other enough information.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I get a kick out of like early at Burning Man, you can actually explore all sorts of things in ways that you're not allowed to.
Right.
After, 10 or 20 people get hurt on it. Like the medics will come over and say, yeah, we're not going to let people climb on that anymore.
Right.
I get a kick out of that. There's definitely some stuff I saw my friends doing where I'm like, holy shit, guys, what are you doing? Like, really? All right. And I'm like Danger Mouse, right? Like I love that shit. But like at Burning Man, I'm like,
no,
I don't really want to get injured here. I'll get injured when I'm at home.
Right. When I can get an ambulance to the hospital in 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. I don't want to, I don't want to break both my legs in the Playa and have to be helicoptered out. Not cool, man. Not cool.
Yeah. You don't want to you can get hurt at Burning Man. You just don't want to get hurt to the point where you have to leave early.
Yeah. Well, we had a medical experience at Fair, but anyway, yeah. I get it.
Yeah, it's brutal. Then Leave No Trace, like obviously it's amazing. So like everybody's picking up trash and like, all that glitter everywhere. Leave your glitter at home, folks.
Right.
Or at least biodegradable, maybe. Please. Yeah. And
how
you
else
really
will
want to
you
clean up after yourself. Yeah.
From the inside, Mel.
And then, what's wild is some people will actually pack out their dirty water, their black water, gray water. And I think that's amazing. They try to evaporate it, but I don't know how well evaporation works out there.
Yeah.
You might have to actually apply energy to it.
Okay.
As opposed to just like a straight up solar, thing. But I think that's really cool. Because you're not leaving shit behind.
Yeah.
Obviously there's so much trash that gets left behind. Like they're working on it, but people just leave bikes and all sorts of shit behind.
What?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Despite these principles, it's not like everybody follows these principles. There's still like art cars and stuff that, you're not hot enough to come on my art car. Like that's kind of a thing. Or like, yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. You're not a billionaire, so you're out,
Yeah. Yes.
Well, they have like
I've heard
the whole thing of like, and I've never been, but I've heard like camps that are pre-set up and then people just come in and you're part of the camp now.
Oh, they got like a rat phone number, like 1-800 doing it wrong or something.
Oh shit. Really?
Or doing it wrong at burningman.com. And you're supposed to report those camps because they're not allowed back if they do that shit. But yeah, a lot of people will fly in. They got like butlers, like 3 Russian Instagram models in the RV. and then you're like, got all your costumes all set up, and you're just like, you fly in and you're set, right? Like you don't need to do shit.
Wow.
I mean,
I mean, whatever. Fine. If
Nothing against Russian Instagram
no
models.
shit. If you got it like that and you're doing your thing, like who the fuck am I to say no to you? You know what I mean? But there's these tenets that are set up, these principles, and maybe like if you're gonna go be a part of the thing, be a part of the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's preferable. Like it's not just that, right? Like I almost like, I don't want to critique them because they're actually missing out.
Fully.
Right. Mm-hmm. Like by not participating and not getting connected with people in these ways, like that's the loss, you know, 100%. Like treating it like it's, you know, Bonnaroo and you're just like consume. Like that's a very different experience.
And a different mindset and a different outcome and a whole different thing. And you could do that anywhere. I mean, why spend all the money to go to Burning Man? I guess it's to have the feather in your cap to say I did it is the reason.
And you know,
well, it's so novel.
It's very novel, but like even, and this is true. Sometimes you can be a total schmuck and still get blessed somehow. You can still be where the magic is and have had your setup with your models and your fucking glittery outfit that's, you know, jacking up the Playa, and still something can transform you because you're in the psychic space or you're on psychedelics. And we all know that they can be very transformative and mystical and literally knock somebody in the side of the head that quote unquote has it all and can create. Now this billionaire is helping other people get to, you know, the Playa that never could have before. I mean, of course, that's a long shot, but it does happen. And we're
giving podcasts a bunch of money. No,
you never know.
please, somebody.
Yes.
Give podcast money.
Just saying. You know,
right here, we have our hands up. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
That oh man, I want to go on a tangent for a moment.
Please. Do it.
I think you guys will like. So I've never outed myself publicly on this.
Okay.
So I'm going to do it.
Yes.
I go on this cruise and it's called Jam Cruise. And I hate to say it out loud because I don't want to talk shop on there usually, but it's so fucking fun and, transformational in a very different way. It is one of these consumes, but like, you know, sometimes only have like 2 drinks on 7 days or whatever it is.
Whoa.
So like, it's not really like that. And I'm barely buying merch. I'm just like being a goofball and having the best time. But one of my friends actually posted this commentary because he's been going for 12 plus years. And it was something along the lines of just how synchronized people get when they're in that tight of an environment for that many days, doing the same stuff, listening to the same music, and like how almost by the last couple of days, there's almost like no real conversation happening. You're just like straight up synchronized. Mm-hmm. And, you know, LSD, MDMA, whatever else is going on, like vibration just keeps going up and everybody's so like high vibe that it's like, what is that? And he kind of like took some sort of, one of the leaders in this like consciousness study movement, around like frequency and enlightenment, love and that kind of stuff. And he was actually like comparing his experience on Jam Cruise and what he thinks might be happening with like this model. And it was kind of interesting. Wow. Not everybody's going all the way to like, you know, 10, you know, blowing out their crown chakra and everything, but like they're at least like here and in like a really meaningful way. And it's fucking cool.
That's yeah. And
all that to say that it's fucking rad.
Isn't that like the deal of spending time at a music festival? Like, isn't that kind of what we're experiencing by the last day of a festival in a very kind of different way? It's not as small.
It's more diffuse.
Right.
But yeah, like totally.
Mm-hmm. And that, whatever that is, I don't know what to call that, you know, group mind or whatever that happens, but that's the very thing that drew me in 30 plus years ago at my first Grateful Dead show, was experiencing that and going, oh shit, this is possible. I want to know everything I can about this thing.
Yeah.
I want to live.
Shout out to Andy Frasco.
Yeah.
Shout out, Andy. We love you.
He gave me some kind words in the buffet line.
Oh, yeah?
Right on. What did he say?
Nice. Yeah. I was just like happy to see how much we're growing. It was nice.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Right
on. Oh man, I had another tangent, and then we'll get back to these principles.
Okay.
But
Our podcast is a tangent. Okay.
In January, I had a monster concussion from skiing, broke my arm.
I remember.
A week later, I have to be in this Florida psychedelic cannabis conference in Miami, days before Jam Cruise. So I'm there on stage, like I'm doing recordings, I'm talking to media, like absolutely out of my mind with the concussion, like still in this 21-day, like can't consume anything toxic and weird yet. Still very much inside that window.
Oh, wow.
And that was a trip. So I'm like, why did I bring it up? Oh, because I'm concussed with a broken arm. That's what the mime outfit came in and all this fun stuff. Okay. And like, so I started actually introducing LSD pretty early because of the brain injury. I think I was consuming high doses of CBD, but for inflammation purposes, and the LSD was able to get in there. Right. What happens with a brain injury is your blood-brain barrier gets a little more permeable, so you can get some bad shit from your circulation in there.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, LSD to get some good shit in there to like help regrow things. It's actually from a doctor from Portland.
Really?
Some good LSD. Yeah.
How did that work out? I mean, did you
wait a minute? Let him finish his tangent. Did you?
No, that's all.
Oh,
no, that was
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
How?
I have a concussion, so I'm good. Whatever you guys want to do.
Yeah, I don't even remember what we were talking about now. How did it work out? Like,
fine.
Did you feel anything different because of doing that?
Well, how would he know?
No, like he would know from taking LSD before that, and then while he has a concussion.
It was really good in the mime outfit.
Okay, cool.
I can tell you that. But I microed first before I started going for bigger ones. And I was trying to avoid things like MDMA because I'm like, I don't really want to let that in without my, brain being a little more healed.
Yeah.
I think I might have done a little at the last day, but definitely wasn't trying to blow it out in any way. It was interesting. It was like definitely a little scary to go like, okay, this is kind of high stakes.
Yeah.
Am I going to get my brain back or not? Because I'm loopy. Like, I think decision making was a little wonky. I wasn't like,
Wow, that's scary.
And we also just found out the conference we were going to do in LA was like collapsing at the same time. Like right before I got on Jam Cruise, I'm concussed coming out of this conference. They call me and say, hey, the city of LA might have just taken your permits away for the venue. Not my permits, but the venue's permits away to actually host events and be an operating business. So I'm like melting, going like, oh my God, I have 1,000 people coming. What am I going to do?
Did that end up working out?
No, it failed hard.
But, shit.
We're kind of surviving from it. But yeah, it was definitely pretty rough. It was going to be, I think, the psychedelic conference of the year. Really? Festival meets conference in the middle of the arts district in LA. And
wow.
Beautiful, beautiful venue. But they did not have their ducks in a row.
Is there a replacement?
They were not being radically self-reliant.
No, they weren't.
Or civically responsible.
All right. So back to the principles now.
Okay. 9. We're at 9.
If you, leave no trace. Obviously awesome. Participation. So like we want everybody to participate. Like imagine if, that cup's epic, by the way.
Yeah.
So
wait, here we go.
Yeah.
Was it people?
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Imagine if you've got all these people.
On a tangent there too. Yeah.
That's what I said. The podcast is a tangent, so don't worry about it.
There's the next T-shirt. No Simple Road. We are a tangent.
Long tangents only.
Yeah.
So, like how do we get everybody to participate? Right. And it's not just about dance parties. It could be about like let's all dress up like Dolly Parton for a few hours, or like let's teach you how to do ballroom dancing in a really like trippy, strange environment, or come on over and we set up a bungee jumping tower. Some people I know are doing like 7-story bungee jumps out there.
Holy shit.
Like there's it's wild. They set up a whole tower. It's crazy. One of my friends was camping with them.
Jesus Christ.
yeah, so it's like, work, play together. And then how do you, with all of these, how do you bring them into the real world later? Like, how do you help people?
Mhm.
Like, I can remember years ago, Katrina happened. I had a couple friends went and did like Peace Corps work, I think, or some sort of work there in Mississippi post Katrina. And another thing that I loved hearing about was all these burners mobilized post Burning Man and just went to see what they could do to help.
Do you know about Abraxas?
And that's like, Abraxas was at Denver too. The MAPS conference.
The
recently.
Dragon Bus.
Yeah. Okay.
Dragon. Yeah.
So we met him.
It doesn't look like the Abraxas I know, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah. We met him at Skull and Roses.
Yeah.
And they were born on the Playa.
Is that in Ventura?
Yes.
Yeah. And dude, they're going like all over the world creating kitchens and feeding people. And this came out of Burning Man.
Because of their ability to communicate and work as a team, be radically self-reliant. I mean, all of these principles, we had them on the show and he's talking about this. And that we didn't go through all the principles, but everything that he was doing was based on these principles out of the Playa. Yeah.
And I mean, it's great to go to a music festival or go to Burning Man or fair and have your transformational experience that changes who you are as a person, makes you better, and you go back to your life, and that's cool. But I imagine that the bigger payoff is that thing rippling out into the world through the people that have been in the experience, making change because of who they are, changing the world around them from their experience. It's kind of the point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, we're just jerking off.
Right.
I think that fun is a valid reason for anything. Like, I'm going to go to Burning Man to have fun. I am not going to say I'm going to go there to be transformed, even though that might happen. It might very well happen. But fun is...
Right. Yeah, jerking off's great.
Yeah, fun's a good reason for a lot of things. And it can lead to other more meaningful things in the meanwhile.
Yep. And I think all
like
of
these things are kind of a find the others thing.
For real.
All right, we're on number 10.
Immediacy. So this has been a big one for me my whole life. I've always been kind of like perplexed by modern American culture and like sports consumption culture. Like, why am I going to consume somebody else having this much fun when I could go have way more fun on my own? Like skateboarding, skiing, snowboarding, whatever, biking, climbing, hiking, whatever, going to festivals, immediate experience as opposed to having it mediated through TV.
Yes.
It rhymes with like vicarious atonement to me. And like the Martin Luther stuff, right? Like how could somebody else possibly make me happy in that way? I don't really think they can, especially for a long period of time. Right. So it's all on us. So yeah, I'll just read through this one and we blast through whatever other fun we want to do. But immediate experience is in many ways the most important touchstone of value in our culture. We seek to overcome barriers that stand between us and a recognition of our inner selves, the reality of those around us, participation in society, and contact with the natural world exceeding human powers. No idea can substitute for this experience. Right? Like reading about Tibet is not Tibet.
Right.
I love that. That's my favorite one, I think, because...
Well, that sums it all up.
Well, I'm a busybody too. I love to do shit, and sitting down to watch TV is kind of like so hard for me unless I'm exhausted, and I do it really more to just share time with Aaron. But if I didn't have a TV in my house, that would make me so happy because it takes that option away. And it makes you more creative. It makes you like, well, let's go read a book in the freaking park. Let's go make lunch and go kayak down the river. Let's go hike to you're not thinking about that when you're like, well, you want to finish our show?
Well,
no, you don't.
Taking it a step further and saying, let's not read a book about doing pottery. Let's go learn how to throw pots. You know what I mean? Let's
all
not,
of it.
Let's not watch
anything
about
that's
kayaking.
anything that's active is my point. You know, anything that's active as opposed to like being fed something.
Right. And I don't want to like shit on people's cultures, like, you know, intentionally, but I'm saying like, for me, this is what I've found.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like the human, there's so much value in an individual human for them to express, that to be held back from expressing it is like really radical crime. And so I want to show you guys like what I've been up to here, like all year. And this is more my partner than me, but
I wanted to ask about that
gigantic crab.
Yes,
so fucking dope.
Big crab car on Instagram with a K, because it's not a real crab. Big crab car. And oh my god, I'll show you a color. Like we lit it up too. We did a 4th of July parade with it. But yeah, like Allie just decided she wanted to build a gigantic crab at Burning Man. Go to Burning Man once and you build an art car.
Yeah,
so
of
like
course.
that's kind of like the coloration.
Wow.
Of course, it's red.
Yeah.
That's dope. I'm so glad that
gigantic and red.
Crab.
Yeah, we got sold like a really shitty minivan. It could have killed us.
Shit.
We decided to transmute that into a crab, cut it in half. Yeah, made a whole situation out of it. Yeah, it's pretty fun. People want to, you know, kick us $5 for lights. Like, please do. Big crab car.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
But it's so fun.
I listened to a podcast yesterday. Jason Louv and Damien Eccles. Do you know who either of those cats are?
On the same show?
Yeah.
It's like a kind of a swap cast.
Jason's got that Ultra Culture podcast, and he had Damien on.
Yeah.
And they were talking about like the difficulty in finding solid magical orders in 2023. Like there's so much strife and problems and all that stuff. You know, there's really no elders around to like help and all that. And we're in such a state of flux. But what they were talking about was like turning everything in life into a magical act, right? He's like, why does it have to be, you know, you're wearing a robe and you have your wand and you're doing the LBRP and you're so magical? And he's like, dude, you fucking do your taxes. Change your tire. Those are magical acts. Like, even more in some ways, you know, there's all these things that we can explore that become magical if we just change our mind to look at them. And I love what you said about getting sold a shitty minivan and transmuting it into a giant fucking crab that's going to crawl the playa. That is the epitome of a magical act. That is transmutation at its finest, as far as I'm concerned.
And it's something you said earlier too, that you were reading that book, doing anything with intent, and it's going to level it up. So that is what it is. If you look at everything as magical or otherworldly in your mind, you can transmute your relationship with that and thus the effect of that thing. In theory or in practice. This is what I wanted to ask, unless we have any more tangents on that specific thing. I kind of want to know what you've been up to with Psychedelics Today up until this point, because episode 52, that was like 2017, I think,
Jesus
or 2018.
Christ.
Right? 2018?
Right.
Yeah, we lived in a
So
different...
we were only 2 years into Psychedelics Today then. We started in 16.
Yeah, it was very fresh and new. And so, I mean, you're talking about just a moment ago, 1,000, person, conference in LA. It didn't happen, of course, but you were in Miami with another one that was happening. So like,
what's up?
Can you walk us through kind of like the journey up until right now?
So, yeah, thank you for asking. It's been quite the fucking ride, guys. Like I had no idea I was starting a business when I started the podcast. I was working in software full time. Like all I wanted to do was spread the good word of transpersonal psychology and Stan Groff and holotropic breath work. It took
and you
off.
did?
So like we started teaching. So what was it? Our first offerings were for like college kids. Like, how do we make college kids have an easier time with psychedelics? We're not trying to talk them out of it. We're just saying, how do you be safer? How do you not get lost? All that kind of stuff.
Right.
So you can get lost in the sauce for sure.
Fuck yeah.
So yeah. And how do you integrate and all this kind of stuff? So that was cool. Doctors, therapists started showing up, psychologists. We're like, okay, we got to really level this material up. I'm almost embarrassed. So we started teaching a course just for those guys, got CE approval, kept expanding that. That's navigating psychedelics, which we still do.
Mm-hmm.
And then I forget exactly how this went, but Kyle and I were having these conversations about how we weren't really happy about what the biggest programs looked like. We're like, they're fine, but they're not what we would create by a long shot if we had our say, right? And who are we? We're not, PhDs, but we've been around for a long time. Mm-hmm. So, and we have mentors that have been around for many, many decades, right? So, we're pulling on lineage, not just our own thing.
But also experience does equate in this space. In this space, like a lot of things, like you said, if you're a doctor or if you're, let me just say this, if you're not a doctor and you are used to bandaging people up, that doesn't equate to you being a doctor, right? But if you are a psychedelic explorer and you've doing it for 20 plus years, that gives you a little bit of weight in this space that is pretty much brand new to everybody else that's just coming on. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, not that you should be, showing everybody where to go or what to do, but I think that is something where experience is a lot more valuable than, just another space.
Thanks for saying that. And I try to keep it in check because I'm, that's kind of why I do this like Joker thing a little bit, just to keep me like, who the fuck am I? But also like, who the fuck are those other people, right? Yes. Like you started eating psychedelics 3 years ago and you might have a psychology PhD, but so fucking what?
Exactly.
Like, it's not necessarily helpful. And it actually could hinder your inquiry and your perspectives, right? So that's why, I like the MAPS title, like the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies. Like this needs to be very interdisciplinary. And no one field is ever going to have like a total hold on it. And that was like the big thing that said, it convinced me that I could do this for the rest of my life. Like there's so many different sub aspects to this space that it's, I get bored with neuroscience or get bored with pop culture. Let me go read about like speculative prehistoric psychedelic use, or like what might the witches have been eating in Romania? Like fascinating questions.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Yeah. So, as we're at the same time, like, critiquing the culture a little bit, internally, we're like, let's build the best training program we can come up with and try to make it accessible and inclusive. And what we did was this program Vital. Usually I'm wearing the sweatshirt. I'm just wearing my regular sweatshirt today, but Vital was like, how do we give this to the people? Because people need it in the underground. People like the less bad stories we hear from the underground, the better this is for legalization and decriminalization, et cetera, safe supply, all those majorly important things. So it's a harm reduction play. It's a political play. It's also like, I've got a few issues with psychiatry as a field. There's plenty of psychiatrists I love and appreciate, but like psychiatry, it's getting in the mix with the state. It's forcing people, into hospitals, sometimes not necessarily. And absolutely against people's will, which is necessarily a violent act. So like those kinds of things are really ugly. And, what other fields of medicine really, started leveraging the government to enforce their
will.
You don't see cancer docs doing that.
No.
So, there's a lot there, and not to mention how pro drug war often their conversations are. And when anybody's arguments and conversations feel pro drug war, I have to jump in. And say stuff now.
You're like,
it's really tough.
Yeah.
The way you just said that, or sometimes I'll pull them aside. The way you said it right there. If you notice the subtlety and I feel like such an asshole, but I'm also like such a drug war abolitionist that I feel like we need to really watch ourselves.
But you know what, Joe, that's cool that you it's a lot of times it's in those small little things that we let slide, that's the kind of shit that'll keep you up later and later. Like, why didn't I address that? Why didn't I say that? Why didn't I clarify whatever? Because those kinds of things can really take something average and make it incredible.
Yeah.
Like, it can really start to dispel or explain or just kind of get in there instead of just like this overview. You stop somebody when they're saying something like, actually, that's not what it is. It's this. Oh, thank you. I didn't realize that. And it gives somebody a better understanding or a more holistic view, of something. So I don't think that that's nitpicky. I think that that is being diligent, to be honest.
I want to ask you something, Joe, and this is like a kind of a personal question because of where we live. Portland really stepped out on a limb and decriminalized basically everything a couple of years ago.
Was it statewide?
I don't know that it's statewide.
It's Oregon. It was.
I think I remember it being statewide.
It's Oregon, yeah. And so there's a lot of negative talk now around that measure being passed because of the state of the state, homelessness and addiction, not having enough facilities for treatment, and the downtown areas of the big cities here in Oregon are fucking falling apart, and the finger is being pointed at decriminalization because of those things. And there was some people at my work actually the other day that I wasn't in the conversation with them, but I could hear them in the break room talking about it and like, we need to pull this measure back and blah, 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 blah. And I didn't know how to speak to that in a positive manner. And like I said, this is kind of a personal question. How would you go about explaining that, like in a cogent manner, that the decriminalization isn't the cause?
I would point out how much homelessness was in Portland before. Like Portland's the only city I've been robbed in.
Wow.
That was probably 20 years old. That was a long fucking time ago.
Right.
Portland's never been like the most squeaky clean of cities, right? No. Portland's had a reputation for a really long time.
It's dingy, man.
Yeah. I fucking love Portland.
Yeah. Us too.
I live here.
So what I like to do, Aaron, is I say, look where they've had massive success. Netherlands, Portugal, Switzerland. Near zero HIV from needle-borne infection.
Wow.
In Switzerland and Portugal now. All drug decrim in Portugal. Did Oregon take money away from the prison industrial complex and cops and reallocate those funds to treatment centers?
Nope.
Because you can't treat, like, from what I've read about Oregon, is the infrastructure is overwhelmed, and it has been overwhelmed. And unless there's resources shifted to doing public good and getting these people the help, if they want the help, that's the other key.
True.
Right.
You can't force somebody into treatment.
Nope.
But when they're ready, what Portugal does is you get picked up. If you have too much, you'll be like called to some tribunal, and it's like a therapist, a judge, and like some social workers. And they're like, do you want help? Cool. If you don't want help, we're going to also just teach you how to stay a little safer out there. How do you use your Narcan? How do you use your test kit? How do you make sure you're not shooting fentanyl? If you don't want fentanyl,
right?
Like,
they're treating them like humans instead of the
like adults,
lepers,
Yeah. Or like, from people who invest in the prisons, like there's plenty of senators invested in prisons. How just so fucked up. They're an economic unit, just like cattle on a ranch, right? Yeah. It's like, let me just fit some more humans in this cube and I can make a whole bunch of cash. So there's like really perverse incentives out there as well. And also media. This is why podcasting is important, everybody, and support podcasts. Media is a fucking big money making global narrative crafting machine that's not necessarily for us.
Doesn't have our best interest in heart.
It doesn't have our best interest in mind. It's constantly creating these narratives that are seemingly true or could be true, but are, like you said, perverted in some odd way. And so we think that, like, people think they're speaking intelligently, probably like the people at Aaron's work. They think they're speaking intelligently to a problem within our culture or in our city. But what they're talking about is actually has nothing to do with why they're seeing what the problem is. And like, I think what you're talking about as the media, like that's the media is doing as well. It's like shifting this narrative into something that's not really true.
And that's why podcasting is so important, like Joe said, because
there's truth.
There is no alternative media out there anymore in the mainstream, and podcasting has now become the alternative media source.
Yeah. So like when we see people, there's this concept of subspeciation. Have you heard this one yet?
No.
How do we create a subspecies that's less than us and perhaps worse than us and worthy of extinction, extermination or punishment, right? So you're a user, you're a drug user. You therefore either deserve to die or go to jail or be forced into treatment, conversion therapy, whatever it is, right? And it's fucked. It's super fucked. And we see it all over war-torn areas. It's been used as a weapon against us as people for centuries or millennia, probably. So the drug war is part of that. And when do we see ourselves doing it? You know, like, are you really going to speak that shittily of, you know, a Kenny Chesney fan? You know, like, give him a little respect, give him a little fucking breather. I don't know why Kenny Chesney. I wanted to say like Taylor Swift, but I kind of like Taylor Swift.
Yeah,
she's the shit.
Tay-Tay's
she's
the
awesome.
shit now.
She's been the shit for a long time. Okay, she really has. People are just hipping it up right now. The thing is like there's so many ways, like you said, that people make us and them, right? You know, like the gender thing, you know, the religious thing, the political thing,
everything's a thing.
Yeah, everything's a thing where nobody's just us now. Like there's even like human beings that can be debatable these days. So it's harder to find an umbrella that we all fit under because everybody's like, well, I'm woke and you're an addict and you're this. And so there's no camaraderie in just basic life. Forget about like if you have a PhD or if you live in the East Coast or whatever. People are so separate for so many things, and it's becoming more so separate. Like,
well, that's the beauty of psychedelics being more widely accepted in common culture, is that I think that one of the great benefits of doing any kind of psychedelic work is it dissolves your sense of other for at least a period of time.
It can still create a hierarchy.
No, I'm not saying that it's the gold magic bullet, but I'm saying it for somebody that's never had the experience of unified anything, and then having that experience, at least the idea is now in their head that that's a thing that can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like maybe I wasn't totally right. You saw the recent headlines about the white supremacist who did MDMA therapy, right?
No.
Like converted. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He was like a very active white supremacist dude. And now he's like, nope, I was very wrong. So he's trying his best to reform and like contribute. Yeah.
This is the best news. I got goosebumps of that.
So there's a lot of these stories. So many of these stories.
I'm getting grossed out, guys. Hold on. There's a weird, hold on.
What's going on? Oh, it's a giant bug.
I love that.
Wow, Mel. Fucking killed it.
Love and light.
Yeah. Vibrate. Oh no, she didn't. Nope, she didn't kill it. She trapped it. She is freeing the bug, everybody. Fuck yeah, Mel.
Good.
Right on.
I love that.
Wow. What was it? Yeah, leave them alone, man. They're just chilling. They're at a festival.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude. I couldn't pay attention, and that was our conversation's really
I'm
good.
with you. Do you mind if I jump back into the training program briefly?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So so we developed this training program. We thought it was the best thing we could come up with at the time. We spent tons of energy and time developing the curriculum, assembling teachers. And we had I think 130 students start with us last year. Wow. And we had 100 finish. We did over 200K in scholarship to get people in radical inclusion.
How did you do that?
What's up, everybody? If you're like me and you're trying to do better for yourself and what you eat in this new year, I have something really cool for you. Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals make eating better every day way easier. Wherever tomorrow takes you, be ready with pre-prepared, chef-crafted, and dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. You're going to have over 35 different options a week to choose from, including keto, calorie smart, vegan, and veggie, and more. And there's even more to enjoy with over 55 nutrition-packed add-ons that help make your weekly meal planning even more delicious. What are you waiting for? Sign up and save. They've done all the math. Factor is less expensive than takeout, and every meal is dietitian approved to be nutritious and delicious. So here's what you got to do. Head to factormeals.com/NoSimpleRoad50 and use the code NoSimpleRoad50 to get 50% off your first box and 2 free wellness shots per box while subscription is active. That's code NoSimpleRoad50 at factormeals.com. Take all the guesswork out of trying to do the right thing for your body. Fuel up easy and fast. Go check out Factor.
I operate Psychedelics Today, tragically like a nonprofit. So we just gave it away.
That's dope.
Yeah. We had a couple small sponsors, like 5-10K sponsors come in, but like not a ton. So it was like, at least 180K on us, which is rough, but it's like, we want to have more people included than less. Mm-hmm. So we had the inclusion of experiences so people could come do breath work and psychedelic cannabis with us domestically, or mushrooms internationally with us, which is really cool. And we wanted to make sure people had the experience of sitting. So we found that really important because that's one of the fundamental skills. And if you don't have that, like, what's your training program? You're just like, okay, you got blasted out. Great. But what does that look like on the outside? And how do you feel comfortable or work towards being more comfortable with that being something somebody's expressing? So we had doctors, therapists, yoga teachers, kids fresh out of college, undergrads, masters, postdocs, like so many interesting people coming through the program, even like anesthesiologists coming in.
Dang.
Which is so fucking cool to see people from all these different walks of life jumping in.
Right.
And this year we did 200 students and over 500,000 in scholarship.
How long is that program?
12 months.
And is there a certification at the end? What's the outcome?
Yeah. What do we call it? I Kyle, my co-founder, kind of drives the education side. I try to do everything else and keep him focused on that. But I think we call it a certificate in psychedelic practices and integration.
Wow.
Something like that. Yeah. Obviously there's no group saying, yeah, cool, you can go like buy and sell acid now and like do sessions. But like,
yet
this
where
is like
the closest
personal
you get to that.
Yeah.
But would this be like more of a personal, like, discovery for yourself or fulfillment, or
you could do it that way, but
okay.
People are getting into grad school and getting jobs after and, get hired by retreat centers and all this stuff. And, in often cases starting their own small businesses, which is, I think it's amazing. Because we need more people doing this full time, many, many more. And this is our attempt.
It's crazy to me to think that, like, I can remember when, if you use psychedelics, you were anathema to polite society, right? Like, you were other, and it was way different. And now it's, at the PhD level, talking at cocktail parties about their ayahuasca experience. And, there's a store that actually just got shut down, selling mushrooms downtown in Portland, and you can get ketamine delivered to your house for, whatever. And that kind of a world that we're in right now is not something that I saw coming. And I feel I'm double-minded about it. And I wonder what your take is on this, Joe. Like, with the legalization of cannabis, for myself, part of the allure of smoking pot when I was a kid was the illegal aspect of it, right? Like there was some danger there, and it was taboo, and that was part of the thing. And with the mainstream of psychedelics, that part of the whole world is being diluted. It's disappearing. And psychedelics at their core, at least in my opinion, are an extremely chaotic thing. You can't say this is what's going to happen to you when you take this. Nobody fucking knows. Like, I can lay out a maybe, but your psychiatric makeup is going to make for your own trip, and I don't know what's going to happen. So having that chaotic nature of the thing be placed in a clinical box feels funny to me. I understand that, like, for the good of all, it's a great thing that's happening. But on the other hand, I wonder if doing that, if the clinicalization of it removes some of the magic, maybe.
Yeah, we all love being centers of pestilence and like being, but how do we balance that, right? Like, where do we want it to be? So
it's tough.
I would prefer not to die from a drug I purchased in the underground, because I don't know what it is, right?
True.
You can do drug testing at home. It's not perfect. There's still room for error.
Yes.
Still room for injury. Like, what's the likelihood of getting injured if you're a well person consuming 400 milligrams of ibuprofen, every other week? Pretty fucking low, right?
Right.
Near zero. But magic will be lost. The mystery will be lost to a degree, but the experience, it's never going to be lost, right? Like,
okay. Yeah.
Even if you're buying like Walmart DMT carts, like, is it really like, is that going to tone down the level of mystery and magic in the DMT experience? Like, I don't think so. But the sourcing, the black markets, like all this stuff, like, I'm a big supporter. I want people to break the law tons. But I also want safe supply, and I want to know what I'm eating.
Right.
I would prefer to not eat super
That's the balance.
Toxic ecstasy pills. And, I've definitely consumed bath salts and stuff. Like, I don't like thinking it was ecstasy.
Mm-hmm.
Still had a great time, but I would have preferred to like been eating what I was eating, knowing what I was eating.
Yes.
Right. And so we have to, factor in like, what's the harm and what's the benefit, and think about it personally and with your friends too. Right. Like, how many, I think from my high school, we've probably lost at least 3 people to fentanyl ODs, and in younger generations, many more.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard of whole friend groups getting wiped out.
Oh no.
We just lost a member of the No Simple Road family to fentanyl.
We did. A really important member. He was instrumental to cannabis reform in California and Portland.
Yeah, in Oregon.
Like, he was huge, and
gone.
And that, it happens. And there is, number one, there does have to be a balance. I think in these changing times where life is not the way that it used to, that, to speak to what you're saying, it's up to us to maintain the magic in the intention of how we take it, and in the settings that we take these medicines, because I happen to know that we have a lot safer way of getting our medications these days that we used to, and that has put a lot of
a lot of the stress out.
Yeah, it takes the stress away, and it allows for the trip to be less about fear and more about the trip. So that balance that you're talking about is absolutely necessary, Joe, like in so many ways. And maybe to your point, Aaron, being involved like you are, Joe, you feel like your hand is on the pulse of that to some degree.
Well, it is.
And you can pass that on instead of looking at it generally and feeling like you could have it should be different.
Yeah. Like I like this mood more.
Yes.
So I'm okay with the consequences for everybody else. Right. Like that's really, really a tough attitude. Like I had some arguments with an OG in the space. And he's pretty much like saying, the only way forward is to have it like a boutique farmer's market approach, but only for certain people, right? Like you have to be on the inside. I'm like, fuck that. Like this is all about getting democratized. I have a friend who did 20 years in prison and for a drug offense. And like, is your mystery and mystique okay? Given how many people have died and been incarcerated as a result of this project that we have going. And it's not just clinicalization for me, right? Like, we see this whole explosion happening in the space. Yeah, clinical is part of it. Research is part of it. Like, I think those people are fucking crazy that want to get injected with DMT and an MRI.
For 5 hours, that DMTX experience. Yeah, totally.
Like, I got the NASA patch up there, the DMTX NASA patch. It's tight. But I haven't done it yet. But
they're paving the way.
You're fucking crazy.
I mean, they're okay. Whoever's participating in those studies, when whoever reads those studies, that's who they're talking about.
How they get in the room though.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like they're literally being the Owsleys and the people that are starting it. And yeah, they're fucking hardcore and crazy and like, I would never do that. But then next thing you know, whatever came from that's the derivative, you're now participating because somebody decided to let their consciousness be, the happy inflatable arm thing, like it's true.
Yeah, and this is such a hard and like fun conversation, right? Because we want to go like, how are we doing full spectrum psychedelic conversations? Like at the same time, like, burn, fair, fish, like dead, all this fun shit. And then at the same time, 45 veterans day are killing themselves in America. Like how much suicide is happening daily.
Yes.
Anorexia and like eating disorders are the most deadly mental disorders around. And psychedelics can help.
Yeah.
Radically help. Especially when paired with the right therapy. And like, how are we balancing all of these things at the same time? And often people are not. And I don't blame them. They don't know what they don't know, and they don't know how to balance complexity because culture has made us quite simple-minded.
Right.
Yeah.
By design, folks.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you think your grade school education was awesome, you probably are wrong.
Yeah.
I fucking had a great time, but I didn't do great like intellectually there. I fucking had a lot of fun though.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and likewise my undergrad had horrible grades, but I still graduated somehow. But, fun, but the whole system's to create factory workers, not Socrates and Plato, right? And how do we make more thinking people and wholehearted, full spectrum humans, right? And that's psychedelics can play part of that. Cultural experiments like Fair and Burn can play part of that. You just need to keep rolling, keep developing. You guys probably created some amazing humans in your day.
I think our kids are pretty fucking dope.
I think everybody who meets our kids thinks they're pretty fucking amazing. And we just had a talk with our daughter about psychedelics and the effect that it had on her growing up in one of our recent episodes. And this was her words, not ours, not that we put anything into her, but she said that her ability to realize that no matter what, we can get through anything and not just like mull it over and like, okay, but like really get to the root of something. She says that psychedelics is that she really believes that psychedelics was a part of that because it wasn't that we were a perfect family, although she said that her childhood was as good as it gets. It was because if something happened, she knew that we could work through it and it wasn't just going to be brushed over. It was going to be actually like dissected. And that to me, for anybody, I would have loved that for my childhood, And so I think that being able to not only know that you're going to have rough times and experiences, but be able to work through them with the people that are relevant in your life, that's a huge win for society, because now that makes a person able to deal with things when they're away from their family or their norm. Now you can actually be like, oh, actually I know how to deal with this. I'm not just going to run away from it. I can like suit up and remember what I learned from my childhood and like speak to this. Sorry.
Wow.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that. It's so cool.
I really love what you're doing a lot. Like truly love what you're doing. And it all goes back to what I first said about the silliness. Like, you got serious really quick when you started to talk about, the Vital program and all of that, because that's something that's close to your heart that you're dedicating your life to. But also, like you said, there's spaces for the fun of this. And then there's also spaces for the veterans that are killing themselves and the people that have anorexia. It's all there. This medicine is there for all of it. And we do need the rainbow of people to deal with that.
We're also, and tell me what you think of this, Joe. I don't think that humanity has ever been where we're at right now, as far as like consciousness and society and all of it. Like, what's going on right now, we are in a brave new world. And if we've learned anything from journeying on psychedelics, it's that reality is malleable and we are engines of manifestation. And so, like, why not work as hard as we can to create the reality that we want through the avenues that are available to us, doing what you're doing what No Simple Road is doing in our own unique, weird way. And I think that the thing for me is the feeling of sacredness of the medicines themselves is kind of where the question I was posing to you
earlier.
When it's a Walmart DMT cart, right? The experience is not the contact that you're making is not changed, but the sacredness of the thing itself has been
like that consumerism mentality,
modified, right? So that's where I'm
like the Catholic Church, and where are they buying their wafers and wine? Right?
Exactly.
I don't know.
They don't have like little boys
priests,
stomping on the grapes in the back.
Different brands.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
I don't know.
Okay.
It's a really important question, right? Like, and can we make something sacred? I think so. Like, it's one of my least favorite S words, because it's used so fucking weirdly so often.
Right.
They're like, oh, let me just throw the S word in here, and all of a sudden it's like cooler. Like, what the? But I hear what you're saying. Like, like, oh, cool. We're gonna go do this like sacred camping basketball retreat.
Yeah.
What? All right, Instagram.
My sacred Tivas.
Oh my God, yeah. I love this.
So like, how do we? Yeah, like how do laying on of hands, like there's ritual we can do, there's meditations we can do, like what sacred is inside us. And
true.
How do we protect ourselves from brands and incursions from like, really powerful symbols? And it's hard. It's really a hard thing to think about, but there's techniques out there, folks. It's not too hard to find out what they are. And then, how do we, just brag about how cool my wallet is. Like, how do you make your wallet like sacred and clear? And like, there's ways to do that, or like supercharged with the power of Jupiter. Like, there's ways to do that. And like, what is more and less sacred? Like, I don't know. Like, I think we're living in this world where everything's fucking sacred and everything's a ritual and everything's a ceremony. I remember Reed Mathis on Jam Cruise going nuts at one point. The first time I saw him in the Electric Beethoven, he was a little over the line, but I loved it. And he was just going on and on about how everything is sacred in a ceremony, and what they're doing is sacred, and what everybody in the audience is doing is sacred in a ceremony. And it was so beautiful and fucking weird, but also just like, Reed Mathis is kind of incredible.
Yes, I second that.
Kind of quite incredible.
Yes.
And we're seeing this overflow and like art into the sacred, into like what is all this stuff. And you're seeing a lot more attention on this like non-dual concept now that you all probably are quite familiar with. Like Kashmir Shaivism did a good job of it, and like other ancient traditions, but there's a resurgence now. They're like, what actually isn't sacred? And what does sacred even mean, right? Other than important.
Well, I think that for me, when I think of something sacred, it is something that has personal power, right? It's something that has either through experience or otherwise affected me in a way.
So
right?
It's all personal.
Yeah. So I don't think that you can destroy it for yourself, but I think that the way that things are presented to you, right? The way something is shown can alter somebody's perception if they haven't come in contact with it yet, right? Back to the Walmart DMT cart. Like, it's handing you something just to use, right? It's another thing.
But if you took off the packaging of that Walmart DMT cart and you didn't know where I got it, and I'm like,
oh, it's on. Let's
fucking blast off in this sacred cart that I got. You don't know there's 50,000 others in that fucking store, but I just brought you this one.
True.
The thing is like,
presentation is everything.
The sacred, everything is sacred. You eat cereal, you're not like saying all these prayers for it, but if you did say the prayer, that fucking cereal would be sacred. It's about us. I'm getting back to it. It's about us keeping the magic, establishing the magic, establishing that it's sacred with or without saying the word sacred. Like, you don't have to say, we are going to have this sacred ritual ceremony today. You can be like, we're going to do this dope get together, and it can be just as sacred as all of that jargon that I just said without the needing to say it.
And I think that's like
thank you, Joe, right?
Yeah,
like,
I think that's the thing that turns you and I off 100%. About a lot of the shit that's going on now is the overused jargony fucking bullshit. And it's like, come on, just let's say it like it is. I get it.
I'll say my own personal, annoyances, because, I'm going to be 45 years old. I've been exploring psychedelics for about 20 years, and in different environments, around different people. I would never call myself an expert, but I think I've got lots of hours in that, You
got your 10,000 hours.
I think I've got 10,000 hours. I would say I'm more of a parenting expert than I am anything else, right? But there's still so much to learn. And I think that the hierarchy of people out there and the jargon is the turnoff, not necessarily what is happening.
True. Okay.
And so if we can just wash away what everybody else is saying / doing and go to the meat, which is the actual transformative experience, the shared experience, the sacred whatever, like, that's really what we're all after. It really is. That education and that experience, that's kind of what I feel is the most important in getting this out there to everybody, and making it more accessible.
And what Joe's talking about safe access and
that's
all that too,
yes,
man. It's huge. It's a huge fucking thing.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just I feel as if what we're all doing, having these bigger conversations and talking about it is so important, and even more so is like what you do with that conversation.
Oh shit.
We saw this movie
Aaron, like, I'm thinking again. Oh, go ahead.
No.
Well, no. Say
ahead,
that.
Joe.
Say, because I forget all the time.
So, remember how we were talking about Burners Without Borders, like feeding people like this stuff earlier, and how like kind of important and meaningful that is. On the clinical front, right? Like, say this couple has a 2-year-old. The father has PTSD. Mom has PTSD. They're from, let's say, suburb of New Orleans, right? They don't necessarily have access to psychedelics. They don't really know about psychotherapy, but they're at the end of the rope, right? They're about to jump off a bridge.
Right.
And isn't it just as meaningful to heal that person so they can get back to their family as it is to like, even if it's in a clinical capacity, compared to like feeding people who are starving and very hungry, right?
Absolutely.
Perhaps even more so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And
because they keep the world going around, those types of people.
Please, I am not like, I'm not against the clinical side of it. What I'm saying is I want to, moving forward in the reality that I see, I would love for there to be a balance of both sides of the psychedelic experience going forward.
All sides.
All of it. I want to see all of it. I don't want any of it to disappear because it's such a beautiful fucking thing and so powerful and so transformative that I don't want any of it to be pushed away or subjugated to a box.
I have something to say about that.
Uh-oh.
It will. You said, I want all of it. That is a part of all of it. The breaking away of some of it. That's part of when something becomes mainstream. It is not hidden anymore. It's exposed. And so even with psychedelics, some of that is going to be washed away. It has to be. Think about the tribal shamans seeing this going down. They're like, what the fuck are you guys doing? But they're not saying that. They're like, the medicine is an entity and it's got to get out and it's going to go where it needs to go. And you cannot say how that entity should or shouldn't act. You can say how you should and shouldn't act, but the entity is different. It's got its own like location that it needs to spread to, and it's got its people that it needs to talk to, and how it's presented is not always going to look sacred.
So I guess the trick is to surrender to the flow.
The trick is to accept.
Right. Like there's going to be some shit we don't like, and it's part of a flow. Yeah. It's part of, it's kind of Heraclitean, like all is flow. Like the only permanent thing is change, right? And we're going to see fragmentation. We're going to see it coming back. There's always going to be an interchange, at least for the next 15 years, between the underground and clinical practice. I don't think they're going to be successful in erasing the mystical experience from clinical treatments. I think that's impossible. There will be psychedelics that have had the psychedelic effect removed somehow or another. And that's fine. Like that's appropriate for some people. Like, do I necessarily want my 92-year-old grandma to have to trip super hard to like feel better?
No.
Like I don't sometimes wish that on my best buds.
Right.
So like how do we carefully handle this conversation that's really complex? And it's always going to be evolving. And like people are going to try to control it. But prohibition has never worked ever, in terms of exterminating use. It often makes use more common. Alcohol prohibition, maybe it's a good story there. Right. Cannabis prohibition, probably a good story there. There's more people tripping now on psychedelics than ever have in the history of humanity. So can you really put that genie back in the bottle?
Absolutely not.
No.
Too late.
Like the dark web's going to keep growing. Drug dealer networks are going to keep growing. New molecules are coming radically. But at the same time, everybody, we have to be really careful about new molecules. That's definitely something to be a little cautious around.
Right.
I feel like a good...
just never know how we're going to react.
We don't. I think a good place for people such as ourselves is to be the comfortable house to go back to when somebody has had an experience, like, they just got their minds blasted and they don't need to be like, well, did you get it from a shaman? Did you have a mystical experience? It's like, no, just accept what's happened and like
come hang out, man.
Yeah, man, come hang out, come chill. Do you need a tea? Do you need a friggin' back rub? Turn the lights on, turn the lights off. What do you need?
Right.
Like I think that's people that have had more years of psychedelic experience, it's up to us to understand, be more understanding of the wackiness of like it getting its 2 feet. You know, if psychedelics was a mermaid its whole life and now it's just grown 2 feet, it's still learning how to walk. And we have to let it fall and like pick it up and like help it to its next location instead of like
I think it's the other way around.
Well, but instead of like judging it and being like, why aren't you lifting up your right leg? That's what you're supposed to do. Like, no, like watch it, don't interfere with it, and help it when you can. And I feel like that's really more of, especially like No Simple Road. We are not like psychology or psychedelics today. We're not the same thing. No. We're adjacent. We're definitely adjacent, but like we need to be like the home and like the resting place for the conversation, for the integration, for the information and those types of things instead of the condemnation and the judgment.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Mm-hmm. Like I really lean into this idea of how do we get people to show up and more authentically express what's going on for them inside and engage in this, like Stan Groff title here of a book, The Adventure of Self-Discovery. How do we get people to engage in that adventure, finding out who you are? And yeah, this whole thing is like endlessly complex. And I love how you're saying this, Mel. It's really great. And yeah, it's a two-way street. It's a really interesting thing. Have you all, this is another like thing we could do 4 hours on. So Daniel Pinchbeck kind of proposed this idea years ago, and I found it really interesting. So say a substance has been used for a few thousand years, right, by humans. And then we compare that substance to something that's never been used before by humans. So like Albert Hoffman, for instance, being the first into the LSD world, probably. Like how virgin is that territory and how imprinted is that territory by, the many thousands of people that have touched it versus the one that's never been touched.
We're talking about morphogenics.
If we're talking about like, maybe, or like, the soul of the thing in itself or the spirit in the thing in itself. It could be like a morphogenetic field. It could be, there's a lot of ways to think about it. But Daniel kind of talked about that in relation to ayahuasca versus some of the newer molecules. And I think there's something there. Like, is there more wisdom in the ones that have been used forever? Perhaps. Do we need that? Maybe not. But it's an interesting thing to consider. It's just more of a thought experiment. Like, I'm not telling people necessarily what to think about that concept, but it's a good thought experiment.
Well, even Mel like brought up from listening to the last time we spoke, your first psychedelic experience was with ayahuasca. And that's like, starting, talk about a field that has imprint on it. That's, you're going to the Super Bowl there with that. And but does it negate somebody else's experience with something like 2CB or MDMA as their first heart opening experience? That thing is in scale, no smaller or bigger for that person. It's their own unique perception and experience of the thing itself. So I don't think that we can quantify experience. You know what I'm saying?
I'm thinking of like, if these,
and we shouldn't try, like we shouldn't compare. My trauma is way worse than your trauma.
Right.
Like that. It's a similar thing.
My trip was better than your trip.
It's still fucking trauma.
But if these,
or, like you're still jumping out of the airplane.
Yes.
Yeah.
If these chemicals or these things are bringing us or showing us something, all of these spaces are similar. That space. Yes, there may be different things that happen when you're on LSD versus salvia versus this or whatever, right? But it's still an altered space. It's still something that is not our shared reality. And so I think that is worth exploring, that space, instead of this is a newer, this is an older, this is what this does, this is what that does. Where is this all of these things taking us? Where is this space, this shared space? I don't know the answer to that. It's just a thought to, when we're talking about
if you knew the answer to
newer
that,
versus
really
older things and stuff that makes you speedy versus relaxed versus more heart open versus more intellect. Like there's some place that there's shared that we're going, and what is that space instead of how did we get there?
Right.
I wanted to ask.
I got to go to the Shulgin farm recently, and Sasha Shulgin, I think, was one of the smartest philosophers in this space. I think he and Groff are like the biggest, most like intellectual titans in this space.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, we're not smart enough to be saying what is yet. We don't know enough about reality. Right. Or what these drugs are to be like, speaking with authority, other than here was my subjective experience. Here's what we did in these trials. So he was kind of coming at it from like a logical positivist point of view, but also like a very open and interested point of view, like we have to experiment. We have to keep doing this. Like this gigantic variety of drugs that we can develop is going to tell us more about what it is to be human than almost anything to date, is what it seems like. It's like how immature was psychology when he was developing all these molecules,
Yeah. And talk about somebody that put their money where their mouth is, like literally tried all the stuff that he came up with on himself first. Like, fuck yeah, man. Like go. And because of somebody that has that kind of courage and thinking that the world is altered because of that. And I think that it doesn't have to be that big. It can also be small things like having a conversation that makes you or somebody else maybe a little uncomfortable or gives them an idea that they haven't heard before that can germinate into, more. It's just a really weird time to be alive. And I know people probably have been saying that since year zero, but it's really weird right now. Things are strange. There's the dichotomy of life is in full focus, and there's a lot of rabbit holes to go down, but I think that the work that you're doing, man, is essential to
it's worth doing.
Yeah, it's essential to where we are and what's going on. And just thanks, man. Thanks for giving it everything you got. I mean, like you said, you didn't know that this was going to even be a thing, but because you saw a need, you created something and people have responded to it. And that just shows you that, at least in my eyes, that you're on the right track.
Thank you. Yeah,
I do have one thing I want to talk about before we leave, because I know we've been on for a while and you probably have stuff to do, but I was just listening to one of the recent episodes with her name, I don't want to, Gabrielle.
I forget her last name.
Gabrielle Lehigh. Dr. Gabrielle Lehigh, and she did her paper on festivals and psychedelics and what happens there and that whole, the experience. And we kind of started off talking about Burning Man and Dicks and Fair and all of that. And just, this is all your opinion. This is what our podcasts are, is our opinions, like, what do you think about the modern day festival, psychedelic, music centric, as far as like for our society? What do you think about that as far as like where it's gone, where it's going? 'Cause like for me, it seems as if Burning Man for you was kind of like another step, not necessarily like a level up, but even going further, so you've done lots of festivals and workshops and stuff. Like what's your take on it? What do you think about it?
Radically important. Jamie Wheel, when he was on the show, said Burning Man was probably the single greatest transformation engine for, personal transformation on the planet. I tend to agree. The way I kind of think about this is that humanity has been so repressed and so colonized by like weird European, Victorian, etc. Christian Catholic values that like we're still digging our way out of that. And this is in a lot of ways a reemergence of Dionysian, like the really powerful, ecstatic experiences that, you know, oh no, don't have those. Go to church on Sunday and watch football. It's like, what the fuck? Like is, you know, like that's getting in the way of us being able to access our full potential. And like even knowing that there's another way, you know, there's another way to feel other than, you know, drinking 12 buds and like a whole pizza, you know, on a Sunday. It's like, that's not, for a lot of people, that's the best thing they could imagine.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but, you know, imagine if you could, you know, 500x that good feeling that you think you had, or like 20,000x that feeling, and do it with other people who are also fired the fuck up about whatever there was going on in their lives or what they're up to at the festival. Like it's pretty amazing. And, yeah, to me, it's a really important march of progress to be able to, you know, unchain humanity a little bit more.
I love that.
And that's kind of what we're doing is like taking the shackles off and saying, I'm not going to let some a-hole bureaucrat tell me how I should, from DC, tell me how I should feel and what I should do with my own body. I'm going to actually do with my own body what I want to. And drugs are a big part of that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I see. It's a massive money-making scheme, these festivals, but at the same time, they're selling ecstasy, they're selling fun, kind of like that Boombox song. Mm-hmm. It's like, how are they helping? They're making it accessible, right? Like the burn is not accessible. Regional burns can be a little bit more accessible.
Right.
But like, you know, you live in Vegas, EDC is quite fucking accessible. Like Fish Vegas Run, quite accessible. Mm-hmm. You know, and I think that's kind of what I'm seeing is a greater accessibility of Dionysian states, like these ecstatic, you know, sometimes quite blissful, sometimes not states. And it's really important because we're, you know, otherwise we get stuck in this whole machine that's kind of bringing the planet to a really complicated spot. I think we've run out this Apollonian thing a little too much. And this is all like kind of Nietzschean terms for everybody. If you want to dig in, like leaning on Greek mythos.
People can look stuff up.
Yeah, if you want to. Great essays, I think, on Nietzsche's perspectives on the Apollonian, Dionysian, and shit's evolved though too, right? Like we're in a whole new era in the world. Like he didn't have LSD, we do. You know, Nietzsche didn't really have mushrooms either. I think he just had, you know, a pretty bad case of syphilis and
some opium. Yeah,
some good opium too. Yeah, so which we should bring that back, everybody. Don't be afraid. But Jesus. It's I think it's radically important, Mel, and I appreciate you asking it that way. And some people think it's the worst. It's the new Sodom and Gomorrah, which in some ways for sure, but maybe we need more of that, you know? Well, I think we definitely do need more of that.
Well,
we definitely
think about this. Like if you just said humanity's been radically oppressed. So isn't the upswing for the balance the opposite until we balance out and realize like this should be part of our life all the time in a, like you said, a balanced way with education, with safety, with community. And until we can find this balance, we're going to have those peaks and valleys in both ways, the severely oppressed and the radically self-reliant. You know, we need that until we learn as a humanity or as a culture to balance out.
It's frequency finding equilibrium.
We need it.
Yeah.
If you look at a scale,
I hate to think we have to do the pendulum thing, but I think you're right.
If you just get a regular scale and you put something on it and then you put something on that other side, there's no way that it balances immediately. No, it kind of back and forth and then boom. Now you see that it's balanced, or I need to add a little bit more sand on this side. It doesn't just happen automatically. And so in these times where they feel troubled or extreme, we kind of need that until it's not anymore.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's just part of the process. The process might suck a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, we got to embrace it too.
Mm-hmm.
Let's embrace reality as much as we can, and also
Yeah.
manipulate it in the ways that are most amazing for us. Like, do we actually want to fight all the time, or do we want to create new things? And that's kind of what I've seen you all do at No Simple Road, is create this whole new opening. That's kind of what we've done as well. Like a whole new opening that never existed before. Oh shit. Now I can engage in this community, and I'm one step away from O'Teal, fucking epic.
Dope.
And
It's incredible.
right. Like,
wow.
How cool is that shit?
Damn, dude, I've never heard it put like that. Thank you. That's cool. I never thought about it like that. That's fucking rad.
Right?
High five, babe.
So
good job.
Yeah. Like you guys done some cool shit. Like we've done some cool shit over here. Like, and there's no reason we need to stop necessarily. And we can keep trying to move the needle in really helpful and amazing, fun ways for folks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Yep. And I think that one of the great lessons that I've learned along the way is that, like, in this space that we're in together, there is infinite possibility and infinite opportunity. And if we help each other, we all go up together.
When we help each other.
When we help each other, we all go up together. It's not like, well, you got my piece of the pie, and like, gives a fuck, man. Like, let's all help each other grow, and do what we're doing to create new and beautiful and cool spaces and things and community. And then it just goes out into the world and makes rad shit. And I want rad shit everywhere. So,
yeah.
How about if people want to get involved in the program? What do they do?
Yeah.
Or how often does it happen? Is it like a once a year type thing? Like,
when is this coming out, you think? Roughly, plus minus a month?
When would you like it to?
Whenever.
It should be about 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh, sick. So I think we're going to announce this before then, so we're good. So we're kicking off a Vital cohort and a group in Vital is what we call our 12-month program. And that kicks off in January. So people can sign up there. Just Psychedelics Today, click on the Vital button up top, and you'll be able to apply and learn more. And you can ask us questions if there's questions. We're also, I might get in trouble by the state of Oregon for this, but we're working very closely with the state of Oregon to develop a psychedelic training program for state level licensure. We're hoping to be one of the most affordable programs in the whole state.
Wow.
And we'll probably give a bunch of scholarship away there as well. We're hoping internally for February, but we're not approved by the state, so we can't really say yet.
Sure.
And I'm not supposed to market it. So sorry, regulators.
No, I wasn't marketing.
No, we're just talking. Okay, we're talking.
Thank you.
Well, I know that I want to be involved somehow. I really do.
Yeah. Well, come take some of our other classes. I would love to have you all in our November Navigating Psychedelics program. That would be really sick. So we're actually launching our first ever Australian group, because MDMA and psilocybin are available there now for prescription. It's fucking epic.
What?
Wow.
Yeah. That was kind of quiet, wasn't it?
I didn't even, I didn't know.
So psychiatrists need specialty training, and then there's going to prescribe, and then there will be some room for therapists. I don't know how regulated it is yet, but it's available now. So we're teaching in Australia.
Yeah.
We're teaching our first Israel cohort starting in October, which is really sick. So like trying to get the Jewish psychedelic movement together, I think that would be really awesome and meaningful. And then what else? We got retreats coming up in Portugal, Costa Rica, Netherlands. We're doing breathwork retreats domestically as well. So I think we've got one coming up in Pennsylvania. But yeah, like come, check out our retreats. Just go to Psychedelics Today /events and see if there's something near you. Oh, we're doing stuff in Miami and Denver. Kyle and I are going to teach our first class in Miami, which is sick.
Fuck yeah.
Have you guys run into Martian Circus yet?
No.
You got to take that shit down. They're so fun. I bumped into them at Lightning in a Bottle, and I could give a shit about the main acts. These guys just had like an art setup, and they were just jamming like 6-hour jams.
What?
In this like day glow, like alien environment. It was so fun.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. So it would integrate like DJ situations, like all sorts of different musicians. They would live paint each other's clothes. you could buy like a white suit from their racks and like they would paint you on stage in like super sick Dayglow patterns.
Hell yeah.
I'm like, this is epic. And they just started texting me the other day. I'm like, yo guys, like I want to do something with you. And like, we'll see if we can pull that off in Miami. They moved from LA to Miami recently. So that could be really fun.
Do you ever sleep, dude?
I don't know how to rest, actually. That's probably one of my biggest problems.
Wow. I mean, like we say we're busy and we're busy, but when I hear what you just said, I'm like, Jesus Christ.
But
Joe.
you've got a team, right, Joe?
Yeah.
You've got a team, and then it's what it takes.
And this is my full-time gig, right? It has been for a while. So like, yeah, like there's no guarantees on how any of this stuff will turn out, right? But I want to keep going. I want to keep pedal to the metal. I'm also a board member at the Psychedelic Medicine Coalition now, and we're working hard to get federal funding for psychedelic science research.
Heck yeah.
So, right, like I actually lobbied Congress with a concussion and a broken arm.
What the?
Just super fun.
Hell yeah.
You know, the smartest thing that I learned from the people at Oregon Country Fair was in the very beginning stages when they very first started back in the 60s and the early 70s. They started to enter political spaces in Eugene in order to just keep their fair going. But because of that, they were able to keep a lot more than just fair going, because fair was just a small part of what they were doing. Before it was cool to compost, before it was cool to recycle, any of these things that are household names and things that we do, they were trying to establish that. And so they entered political parties in order to do that. And I can't tell you how ingenious that is for the people like us three and everybody that we're affiliated with to do stuff like that. You don't like politics. You don't like to talk about it. You don't want to messing up what you're doing. Then enter the space so that you can have a say instead of wishing it were different and crying about it.
Damn. You know, and perhaps don't spend all your energy fighting, and perhaps a lot of your energy creating something new, right?
Absolutely.
You know, the most viable, beautiful alternative. I think it was like a Bucky Fuller line around like, yeah, you're kind of wasting your energy if you're just bashing your head, because your energy is going to get matched,
Yes.
right? If you have enough energy to bleed the beast all the way, great, but you probably don't. And what if we just created this whole like, you know, pleasure society over on the other side?
Absolutely.
That's working for the good.
I'm in. Sign me up. Is there a mailing list? Or
yeah,
like,
psychedelicstoday.com.
Fuck yeah, Joe.
Yes.
I love you, brother. Thank you, man, for
Joe,
everything,
man,
dude.
I'm sad we're not going to see you in Denver, but I'm so excited because I know wherever we're going to see each other next, it's going to be dope.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, guys.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't have to wait all the way to Fish Vegas, but whenever that happens.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I'll hit you up when this is going to come out, so you know.
Amazing.
All right, brother.
Yeah.
Dang, Joe.
Thank you
Have
all.
an awesome
Appreciate
day.
y'all.
Enjoy the rest of your
Tell
Saturday,
you
man.
and Allie, congratulations on that dope crab car,
Fuck
man.
yeah.
That is so
Big
fun.
crab car.
Throw him $5.
So funny.
Come on.
So funny. All right. Take care,
Talk
guys.
to you soon.
Appreciate
Peace
it
out,
both.
Joe.
Later.
Bye.
I love that guy.
That fired me up.
That was sick.
That charged me up.
I could tell.
That was a great.
You were on fuego, baby.
Because, you know, I think that I don't think when we very first started the show, and we talked about our specific psychedelic experiences, I was very shy.
You were reticent to share.
And not, I didn't feel like it was okay because of that sacred word that you were saying.
The S word.
And also 2, getting in trouble. Also 3, people finding out, you know, and since then I've shed a lot of that. That's just like superfluous shit that kind of keeps
that's like
you
extraneous programming. Like,
yeah, it just
what will they think of me?
But once now I'm finally able to not only divulge my own personal experiences, but also like the knowledge that has come out of that, and the excitement and the connections and all of these different things. it's not just single tiered, it's multi-layered. There's a lot happening under the surface. And when we get to speak to people like Joe, about the nuances of what's really happening in the real world about it, not just like my happy time on Saturday night, it really shows me that what we're doing is bigger than what we are.
Well, your happy time on Saturday night is the real world. I would beg to.
No, it is, but it's like the incorporation.
No, I get what you're saying. And here's the other side of it too, that like, because we have a platform to our voices go out into the ether, we kind of have a duty in a way to share our experience. Because just like we were just talking about with him, there's people that are just entering the space, right? And that's great that you had a great time on Saturday night. Like, let's all have a great time every night. I'm for it 1,000%. But if there's somebody out there that can benefit from what you learned on Saturday night and you have the opportunity to share it, I think it's your duty to do so. Right?
If we're speaking, I don't know. I have a double way I think about that. Is it our responsibility to share what we learn to help people? Sure, absolutely. Is it also our responsibility to keep things to ourselves in order to work through what we need to work through, and then maybe
yeah, but when is it ever done? When's it ever cooked?
Well, it's just like if you make a song, there's a time where you put it out,
but
and
it's
you
never
don't.
Done. Like
yeah, it is, because then now when you hear that song, there's not like 8 more minutes that you're not listening to. That's it. It's done. And I know about jam music. Okay, yes, I do. Okay. I understand that. But I'm saying once it's on the fucking CD, once it's on the press, that's what it is.
Sure.
And so that's what I mean. Like, I feel like there's times where sometimes people say too much before they have digested something. And then there's also a time where people should be saying a lot more than they do.
And there's also benefit to somebody going through their process in real time for other people to see.
Yeah. And there is actually value to all of those, to all of them.
Yeah, man. It's an exciting time to be a human being on planet Earth, having a life experience. It's exciting right now. It's extremely terrifying right now. It's infinitely fun right now. And we have the opportunity to do something unprecedented in human history with consciousness because of where we're at with all of this. And it's really fucking cool to be in the space at all and have any kind of a voice. It's something that I didn't see coming. I that was not part of No Simple Road in my mind when we started it. I don't know. But meeting people like Joe and seeing what they're doing to help facilitate change makes me excited for our future. It makes me hopeful.
Yeah, and even more so, I never really thought about being involved in any of those types of things, but I feel even like the talk at Country Fair, there was a woman that was speaking about mushrooms and getting certified and things like that. And I never thought that would excite me, but it did excite me. It excited me in the sense like that could be us there doing the same thing. And we are doing it in our own way. But I mean, like getting in the mix of society, not just creating our, the bubble that we've created. In addition to this, there's more.
I got you. Well, for right now, if
you guys get this,
you got this. And you can go to psychedelicstoday.com and get all the information on all the amazing shit that's going on over there. They are really doing some incredible work. So if you want to find out more, and you should, go over to Psychedelics Today and follow them on the Instagram and tell Joe that you appreciate his work. Because we need, when you're doing work like that, you need to hear it. And
we do need to hear it. And even though he's a teacher, like sometimes stepping up to what you fully are is hard
and scary.
It's scary. And what people, how people see you or what they think of you, can be a lot bigger than what you think or see of yourself. And when you're sharing what people are to you or what they've helped you to see or create or envision, that's important. That's just as important as paying for your latte. You know what I mean? Like, you square up with Starbucks, they give you the drink, you give them the money, like that. I feel like squaring up with people, letting them know that their music touched you, that their podcast meant a lot, that tiara that someone made them feel amazing. Whatever it is, it's that reciprocal aspect. Instead of just being the consumer, I bought the soda, that's it. Like, thank the person who gave you the soda, and like, I was thirsty, now I'm not, thank you. It just extends that transaction to more sacred instead of
so
just
on
a
that
thing.
note, go to patreon.com/No Simple Road.
Yeah, guys, like, can we talk about what's happened in the last couple days for a minute with Patreon?
What happened?
Nothing bad has happened with Patreon. But No Simple Road, I think this is this is year 6 for No Simple Road and we didn't initially start Patreon because we didn't know about it, and we didn't know that it was going to be a business, and we didn't nothing of it.
Yeah, just like Joe, we didn't know we were starting a business.
We didn't. Then when we started Patreon, it's like, gosh, that's a whole uncharted territory, asking people for money for something that we're already doing. Like, we didn't need money to start this podcast. We already did it, but now we're asking for it because you're listening, you're consuming it. But that seems like, but then now No Simple Road is 6 years old. It's grown. And when things grow, they require more. That's just it. Like, if your kid is now going to college, it requires more than what you were giving it at elementary school. And it's not necessarily like, oh, let me spoon feed that soup to you. Now it's like, oh, here's some money so that you can go buy your books, right? And I feel as if that's what's happening with No Simple Road. You guys are all, whoever's been a long time listener, maybe this is your first show, so you can, listen to this or not. But when you grow with something and you want to see it thrive and you want to see it be all that it can be, being an onlooker or a spectator is not enough anymore. You have to get involved. This is kind of like the conversation we were talking about. Like, we can dabble in these psychedelics, and here we are getting frustrated that, maybe the sacredness is getting taken out of it, but we're not doing anything about it. Shame on us, right? Well, same thing, like, you're seeing this podcast grow and going to all these different locations and festivals. We have to pay for that somehow. It wasn't a part of our life before. It is now. So we're trying to find ways, whether it's through Patreon, selling shit, picking up extra jobs, people being sponsors, all of these ways. But there's never, the best part of it is when it's the people that you're doing it for and with, when they're participating. And there's nothing like that. So when we're getting people that sign on to our Patreon,
it's the best.
That's the best part of it, because we know that you're dedicated and committed.
And we know where the energy's coming from.
Exactly. The energy's coming from within.
Yeah. We're
stimulating our own economy inside of No Simple Road to be like, yeah, I'm going to give you that $5.
And we are creating something for you over there. There's a whole other podcast. There's extra
I'm not
content.
even talking about the extras you're getting now. I'm talking about
I get what you're saying. I'm just letting them know.
But it was my soapbox, not yours.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that we're creating something, and you have an opportunity to be a part of it in more than just a passive way, just listening. And I just encourage you to do that, because no matter what, when you pull out your ATM card or your cash and you give it away to whatever thing you're giving it to, you're either satisfied or dissatisfied. You're either mad that you got to pay your bill or grateful that you get to pay it. You're either happy that you get to put that $20 down for that, burger, or you're angry that you get to be like, dang, it cost me that much. And I'd like to think that when you're consuming No Simple Road, that you are happy that you're getting this. You're happy that this conversation happened and that this connection happened and the network has grown bigger. The family is expanded. And it's a really incredible thing to be able to do, to share your hard work and your hard earnings with something that we're doing hard as well. And I just wanted to talk about that because, we've had these incredible sponsors. We always, I really mean this. We always try to put out people or products or services of stuff that we're into. Maybe once or twice that hasn't happened, but that's the goal. That is the goal, is to talk about shit that we really love and want and are into. So just I don't know, I just want you all to think about that, because I don't really talk about it that much, but I think about it, and I want to talk about it intelligently and thoughtfully, instead of just trying to make anybody that doesn't
people
give
that
to hate free.
Don't want to.
Wait a minute. The people that don't, that's fine. And I'm not trying to make anyone feel guilty or any kind of way, but I also want to share what's coming from my heart and what we're dealing with too, because I think that seeing and being part of something grow and soar is some of the coolest shit that you could ever be a part of.
Let's hear it for Mel.
Thank you. I didn't expect that, but I just wanted to say that.
No, let him go. Patreon.com/No Simple Road. And you know what else? We love you guys, and we're going to be back next week with more stuff and things. And until then, what we'd like you to do is take care of each other and smile at a stranger. Safety third, hydrate. Who's got our SOs? And, if your dog will let you this week, cut its nails, because they can't cut them themselves. They don't have nail clippers that they can, because they don't have thumbs. So take care of your dog's nails. Darwin won't let us cut his nails, and it's a nightmare.
And remember, we all can't be sparkle ponies, okay?
Oh, shit. I love you guys. See you next week. Peace.
But it's a burden. Felony just been deferred, and hell of me has been the earth, and alchemy can bring the birth, the melody of a newborn. So persistent, so resistant, so insistent, so commitment, so resilient, or haven't you learned it? Still, no simple road. 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 My windshield is shattered as I focus through the spot in the corner that is still intact. The react is both a defense mechanism as well as a fear. We've traveled this road before, so we may think, but it's a tad bit of strange similarities that feed an A=A complex. The fears of your past do not equal the perplexities of the current road.
Hi, this is Henry Kay, host of the #1 music history podcast, Rootsland. Come with me on a journey to Kingston, Jamaica, where we explore the world of reggae music and the untold stories of some of the genre's greatest legends. From the ghettos and tenement yards where the music was born, to the island's iconic recording studios. We are so excited to team up with Osiris Media, the leading storyteller in music, because as you'll hear, sometimes the story is the best song.